Chapter 8:23. Wuji did not refute Lucifer's words. Instead, he smiled and asked, "What's wrong? Are you short of money to spend too? No discord, no concord. If you are willing, I can give you a satisfactory price." Damn, as expected. This B**** admitted it himself. Hearing Wuji's words, the audience was in an uproar again. Damn, he dared to admit it in such a high-profile manner. They had seen shameless people, but they had never seen someone as shameless as him. Everyone from Chuanjin was stunned. Damn, what nonsense is this idiot Wuji talking about? Seeing that Wuji did not comment, Lucifer achieved the effect he wanted. Then, he pretended to be curious and asked further, "How much can you give me?" About this, Wuji rubbed his chin and thought for a while. Then, he stretched out a finger and said, "I can give you this amount, RMB. 10 million? Lucifer could not help but be shocked when he saw Wuji seriously stretching out a finger. 10 million RMB was not a small amount. He did not expect this group of people to be so rich. At the same time, Lucifer was secretly pleased. Money was the standard to measure everything. 10 million RMB to lose a match? Even if it was a professional match, the price would not be so high. Of course, no matter how much $10 million was, no matter how much Lucifer was moved, he would not agree to it in such a situation. Not to mention whether Wuji was sincere. Even if he was sincere, if he agreed now, he would be dragged down by Wuji. Originally, he wanted to accuse the motley team of fixing the match, but he ended up falling into the trap. Lucifer could not do such a stupid thing. Just as Lucifer was about to reject to show his character that he could not be corrupted by wealth, Wuji spoke again. "You are thinking too much." Seeing Lucifer's secretly pleased expression, Wuji shook his head and said, "I said 1 RMB. How about it? With the strength of your team, this price is not small, right?" Hearing Wuji's words, the originally angry players immediately reacted. Wuji was actually teasing Lucifer. For a moment, everyone was amused. They didn't expect that the Satan battle team, which had always been good at humiliating others, would also have a day where they would be humiliated in front of others. "You!" Lucifer naturally realized that he had been fooled by Wuji. He pointed at Wuji on the screen and was so angry that he couldn't speak. Wuji smiled and said, "Don't rush. Let's talk about it slowly. How about 1.5 yuan? This price can't be higher." Wuji was really a good actor. When he said this, his expression was calm and serious. Especially when he said 1 yuan 5. He said it as if it was 10 million yuan. Ha ha! The laughter grew louder. When had Lucifer ever suffered such humiliation? Anger immediately rose in his heart. He pointed at Wuji and shouted, "Our Satan battle team wants to fight to the death with you. We won't stop until one of us is dead. Do you dare?" Wuji laughed. "Why wouldn't I dare? I'm afraid you'll surrender halfway." "Surrendering is a coward," Lucifer shouted. "That's what you said. The entire audience can testify to that. Breaking the contract is a bastard," Lucifer said. "It's settled then." The corner of Wuji's mouth curled up, revealing a strange expression. Seeing the expression on Wuji's face, Lucifer's heart skipped a beat. However, it was too late. He had already said it. If he went back on his words, wouldn't he be a bastard? After the call ended, the big screen switched to the arena. The first match between the two sides had officially begun. In the few matches that Satan battle team had fought, Lucifer had always been the first to fight. In order to not give Wang Yu a reason to kill him, Wuji had arranged for Wang Yu to be the first. For this battle, the motley crowd battle team was the home ground. The first to fight, Wang Yu, would choose the location of the match. Wang Yu casually chose the arena. After choosing the arena, Lucifer couldn't help but frown. Although a grandmaster of combat was a close combat profession, the specialty of the profession was to fight flexibly. A small map like the arena was only suitable for a head-on confrontation. Lucifer was a holy knight. A Grandmaster of Combat going head-on against a holy knight was like smashing an egg against a rock. By choosing this map, Wang Yu was clearly mocking Lucifer. Motherf ***, how dare you look down on me? Lucifer cursed angrily. With a flash of white light, he entered the arena together with Wang Yu. As soon as he entered the arena, Lucifer pointed at Wang Yu's nose and shouted, "Trash, you're asking for it. If I don't beat you to death within 30 seconds, consider it my loss." As he said that, Lucifer raised his hand and a holy strike talisman floated towards Wang Yu. Wang Yu's body moved to the side, and the holy strike talisman brushed past him. At the same time, Lucifer followed behind the holy strike talisman, lowered his head, and charged towards Wang Yu. A knight's charge could cover a distance of 500 meters, and the arena's length and width were only 1,000 meters. At this distance, Lucifer's charge would reach him in an instant. Wang Yu was still in the midst of moving to the side when he saw Lucifer charging at him. He lightly jumped back, and Lucifer's head crashed into thin air, stopping at the edge of the arena. Seeing that his attack had missed, Lucifer slapped out a talisman and applied it to his scepter. With a flash, the scepter transformed into a giant hammer. Lucifer twisted his body and swung the giant hammer horizontally at Wang Yu. A blunt weapon like the giant hammer had extremely high priority. Even Wang Yu didn't dare to take it head-on, and he was forced back by Lucifer's attack. By then, Lucifer had already completed his turning motion. He grabbed the giant hammer with both hands and leaped up, activating the falling sky hammer in Wang Yu's direction. Is it the falling sky hammer? Or is it the falling sky smack formation? Seeing Lucifer jump up, everyone pondered this question. If it was the falling sky hammer, if he didn't dodge at this time, he would definitely be hit by the hammer. If it was the falling sky smack, dodging at this time would be exactly what he wanted. No matter what the outcome was, a Grandmaster of Combat who faced a paladin head-on had no hope of survival. However, just when everyone thought that Wang Yu was dead for sure, Wang Yu did something that made everyone's jaws drop. Wang Yu didn't stand in place, nor did he retreat. Instead, he took a step forward calmly, arriving directly below Lucifer. Then, Wang Yu leaped lightly, raised both his hands, and grabbed Lucifer's breastplate with his left hand, while his right hand grabbed Lucifer's crotch with a knee strike. At this time, Lucifer was in the middle of releasing the falling sky hammer. The grab effect of Wang Yu's knee strike directly interrupted the falling sky hammer, and Lucifer instantly lost his balance in midair. Immediately after, Wang Yu's left hand pulled down, and his right hand pushed forward. Lucifer's body turned 180 degrees, and he was thrown down from the sky by Wang Yu upside down. His head was upside down, and his feet were upside down, smashing into the ring. Before Lucifer's lower half could hit the ground, Wang Yu stepped on the ground like an eagle, arched his front, and mounted his back. He smashed his hand into the middle of Lucifer's legs. Lucifer reflexively retracted his leg, locking Wang Yu's hand. Wang Yu used Ferocious Tiger Strike to lift Lucifer up, and his whole body was lifted upside down. Chapter 8:24. Plop! Lucifer fell to the ground with his buttocks facing upwards. The audience in the arena raised their seats. Everyone was shocked. Everyone knew that the knight profession had the highest judgment among all the conventional professions. Even the strength-type profession warrior was a level lower than the knight, a profession that used long weapons. Among the 7 professions, the judgment of the Grandmaster of Combat was only slightly higher than that of the archer. It was almost on par with the assassin, who also had low judgment. However, the high explosive power of the assassin was something that the Grandmaster of Combat could not compare to. When the knight and the Grandmaster of Combat clashed head-on, everyone could imagine the outcome. The final result would definitely be the Grandmaster of Combat being thrown out by the knight. However, today's battle had subverted everyone's understanding. Not only did the Grandmaster of Combat, Wang Yu, not get thrown out by the knight, but he even threw the knight out of the arena with one hand. How terrifying was this Grandmaster of Combat! Just now, everyone still had some doubts that Wang Yu had spent money to fake the match by fighting against 10 people. However, after seeing this scene, the little bit of doubt they had about Wang Yu immediately vanished. After all, everyone had witnessed Lucifer's strength. To be able to throw Lucifer out of the arena with one hand in less than 10 seconds, this person was probably able to fight against 10 people at the same time. As for whether or not Lucifer was fixing the match, there was definitely no doubt. Not to mention that the tit-for-tat between Lucifer and Wuji made it impossible for such a possibility to exist between the two teams. Even if there was such a possibility, with Lucifer's level of pretentiousness, how could he tolerate being thrown out of the arena in such a shameful position? The arena had a very special feature compared to other maps. That was, no matter how much HP the players on the arena had, as long as one side was thrown out of the arena, it would be judged as the loser. Lucifer still did not know what had happened. A white light flashed and Lucifer was sent out of the arena with a dumbfounded expression. The expressions of the Satan battle team were exactly the same as Lucifer's. Lucifer was at a loss, but the rest of the Satan battle team did not know what had happened. The former did not know that they had lost, while the latter did not know how their best fighter had lost. "Boss, how did you lose?" Beetle Nut asked in surprise. Beetle Nut had been with Lucifer for so long, but this was the first time she had seen Lucifer being defeated by someone. Furthermore, he was in such a sorry state, with his legs facing the sky. Just thinking about it made her feel embarrassed. "Did I lose?" Lucifer felt like he was living in a dream. He thought that the one who died was Wang Yu. He should have lost. Beetle Nut pointed to the scoreboard and said, "Oh." Lucifer said blankly, "How did I lose, everyone?" This was the question that everyone had been thinking hard about. At this moment, a guy called Furong Wang, who was behind Beetle Nut, said, "This arena map seems to automatically determine the loss if you fall off. Boss, how did you get thrown off?" "Throw it down?" Lucifer was stunned for a moment and then said arrogantly, Hee, how could I be thrown down? The arena was too slippery and I accidentally fell down." "Is that so?" Everyone was skeptical. "Otherwise, how could a Grandmaster of Combat throw me?" Lucifer explained. Everyone was still in disbelief. "Alright, don't bother about these details." Lucifer waved his hand helplessly and said, "Who's next?" "Me." Furong Wang raised his hand. "Humph." Lucifer said coldly, "If you dare to lose, I'll kill you." Furong Wang. Furong Wang's profession was a warrior, and his opponent was To Place One's Pride. Originally, with To Place One's Pride's chances of winning, Wuji did not want to let To Place One's Pride go up. However, this brat cried and made a fuss about getting rid of a scourge for the people. Wuji was already old, and could not dissuade the spirit of a young man, so he could only agree to it. However, Wuji did not believe in getting rid of a scourge for the people at all. To place one's pride, this brat was most likely trying to show off. After all, there were many beauties in the audience, and his opponent was the kind of scum that most women hated the most. To place one's pride, Wuji seemed to be able to feel the surging emotions in Place One's Pride at that moment. The two of them went up the stage, and the countdown began. Furong Wang raised his hand and charged towards To Place One's Pride. To Place One's Pride was different from Wang Yu. Wang Yu was a true master, and his fighting style was based on punches and kicks, supplemented by skills. To Place One's Pride had also learned a few punches and kicks, but this brat was a true gamer. Naturally, he would not be like Wang Yu. To Place One's Pride was a monk, and all the skills of a monk had been perfected. Seeing Furong Wang charge towards him, To Place One's Pride took a step back, dodging Furong Wang's charge, and followed up with a kick towards Furong Wang's face. Furong Wang was a warrior, and when had a warrior ever been afraid of anyone? Facing To Place One's Pride's attack, Furong Wang did not dodge, and instead forcefully activated Whirlwind Slash. To place one's pride chuckled. He leaned back and used an iron bridge to rush forward. To place one's pride's back was parallel to the ground as he arrived beneath Furong Wang. Then, he laid down on the ground with his back pressed against the ground, and suddenly kicked out with both feet, using a side kick, which landed on Furong Wang's waist. Of course, such a stance was no longer a side kick, but a sky kick, which was taught by Wang Yu. Not only was it powerful, but it could also hit vital points. Most importantly, it was especially cool. To place one's pride interrupted Furong Wang's skill, and to place one's pride even lost his balance from the kick. After successfully interrupting Furong Wang's skill, to place one's pride jumped up like a carp, and used a collapsing fist to cut in front of Furong Wang. Chain kick, flaming kick, flying swallow twist, roundhouse kick. To place one's pride kicked Furong Wang's body one after another, and instantly executed a perfect combo, kicking Furong Wang from the center of the ring to the edge of the ring. Furong Wang's HP also dropped by almost half. As expected of a talented young man personally taught by Wang Yu, to place one's pride had a good grasp on the rhythm of his combo. From the beginning to the end, every move was perfectly connected, and the audience could not help but follow the rhythm of the bang-bang. To place one's pride watched as Furong Wang kicked every part of Furong Wang's body, leaving Furong Wang with no chance to retaliate. The players in the audience, especially the grandmasters of combat, all cheered in excitement. To place one's pride was quite good-looking, and the skills of a grandmaster of combat were the most powerful among the 7 major classes. When all of his skills were chained together, he was simply too cool. This was the legendary combo technique, and this was the charm of a grandmaster of combat. Even if grandmasters of combat were as useless as dogs, there were still players who were obsessed with combo techniques that persisted in their path. Now that they saw this textbook combo technique, how could they not be excited? After a set of combo kicks, to place one's pride landed on the ground. Furong Wang, who had been kicked for a long time, finally regained his senses. Just as he was about to raise his sword to retaliate, to place one's pride extended his arms, grabbing onto both sides of Furong Wang's chest plate. To place one's pride then used his leg to trip Furong Wang, and forcefully pushed Furong Wang off the ring. To place one's pride lost the match. Lucifer angrily walked to Furong Wang's side and loudly scolded, "Trash, how could you let a brat push you off the stage?" Chapter 825. The third round, Satan teams, Soft Zhonghua against Bao San. Soft Zhonghua's class was an ice mage. Logically speaking, mages, especially ice mages with strong crowd control abilities, were very good at restraining warriors. However, Bao San was not an ordinary warrior. Bao San had the charge skill, which allowed him to move 4 times. Each time he moved 5 meters, Bao San had the ability to suppress any class within a range of 20 meters. One had to know that the length and width of the arena was no more than 10 meters. Even an archer with a range of 30 meters could not kite Bao San. The match began. Soft Zhonghua retreated while throwing Ice Mirror at Bao San to slow him down. Bao San activated Triple Slash without saying a word. He passed through the Ice Mirror on the ground and rushed towards Soft Zhonghua. Duang! 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 As a mage, Soft Zhonghua's physical attributes were far inferior to that of a warrior. Every slash from Bao San was able to force Soft Zhonghua to retreat a few steps. After the triple slash, Soft Zhonghua's health was less than 50%. At the same time, he was slashed to the edge of the arena by Bao San. Taking advantage of Bao San's stun, Soft Zhonghua finally recovered. Just as he was about to counterattack, Bao San pounced forward and crashed into Soft Zhonghua's arms. Then, he stuck close to Soft Zhonghua and activated Charge. Before Soft Zhonghua could finish casting a skill, he was pushed off the arena by Bao San. The fourth round, Yang Na against Beetle Nut, was even simpler. Yang Na first used a repelling arrow to interrupt Beetle Nut's attempt to enter stealth. Then, she rushed up to Beetle-Nut's head and used a full set of Meteor Chases the Moon. The impact of Meteor Chases the Moon caused Beetle-Nut to lose his balance and retreat. Finally, Yang Na used Antelope's Horn and lightly threw Beetle-Nut off the arena. Other than Lucifer and King Farong Wang, no one else knew whether the arena was really slippery or not. However, after losing 4 rounds in a row and being thrown out of the arena, no matter how confident the members of the Satan Guild were, they were still a little anxious at this moment. If it was just one person being thrown off the arena, everyone could understand. However, for everyone to be thrown off the arena was a little unbelievable. It was clearly done on purpose. If he did it on purpose, it would be even scarier. After all, in the game, compared to killing the opponent directly, pushing the opponent off the stage was rarer. Using the same method to defeat the opponent in 4 consecutive rounds, how terrifying would that be? The guys from the Satan Battle Team had always been very arrogant. From the beginning to the end, they had never taken Xuanzhen seriously. At this moment, they had never expected their opponent to be so strong. Even their captain, Lucifer, was the first to be thrown out of the arena, let alone the others. What is this? This was blatant mockery. Throughout history, only those with overwhelming strength could choose to defeat their opponents. If the Satan Battle Team was thrown out of the arena for 5 consecutive rounds, it would undoubtedly tell everyone that the motley crew could use any method to destroy the Satan Battle Team. Since Lucifer knew what his opponent was thinking, he naturally would not let his opponent get what he wanted. With that thought in mind, Lucifer quickly said to Huang Helu, who was in the next match, "Big Yellow, be careful later. Don't go to the edge of the ring." Huang Helu seemed to have guessed this as well. When he heard Lucifer's words, he hurriedly nodded. "Your opponent is that mage. This shield is for you." As he spoke, Lucifer took out a shield and traded it to Huang Helu. Seeing the shield, Huang Helu's eyes lit up. "With him, we'll definitely win this time." The 5th round, the Motley Crew's Mingdu versus the Satan Crew's Huang Helu. The two followed the system notification and entered the arena. Mingdu's profession was a thunder mage. Thunder mages did not have the problem of directional casting, so their PvP was much worse than ice mages. Moreover, this map was an arena, so the space was extremely small. It was not very suitable for long-range professions. Huang Helu's profession was a shield warrior. He had thick skin and was a proper melee profession. At this moment, Huang Helu was holding a giant shield engraved with magic runes. It looked indestructible and gave people a sense of security. Normally, a shield warrior would be a clumsy moving target in front of a mage. However, in this map, Mingdu did not have any class advantage. Mingdu had never done things according to the rules. As long as he could take advantage of others, he would be shameless. As soon as he entered the arena, Mingdu chanted. At the same time, his left hand shone, and there was a faint magic gathering. Before the start of the match, even though players on both sides couldn't move or use their skills, they could still chant their skills. This was also why Bright City was such a place. Anyone with a bit of face wouldn't bother to study such a shady rule. It was also because Mingdu began to gather magic as soon as he entered the arena that when the start of the match began, the Thunder Spear, which should have taken 5 seconds to gather, appeared in Mingdu's hand. Then, Mingdu raised his hand and threw the Thunder Spear at Huang Helu. Lightning magic had always been known for its instantaneous release without a trajectory. Compared to other lightning spells, although the lightning spear had a trajectory, it was still lightning magic, and its trajectory could be said to be as fast as lightning. Note, this is not a metaphor. At this moment, Mingdu and Huang Helu were only a few meters apart. With the shield warrior's clumsy movements, he would definitely not be able to dodge. Just as Mingdu's Thunder Spear was about to hit Huang Helu raised his shield and blocked it. Bzzzt, with a crackling sound, the lightning spear collided with the shield. Then, like a candle that had hit a red-hot iron plate, The thunder spear melted into a bolt of lightning and sank into the shield. What a strange shield! Mingdu was shocked when he saw this. Mingdu had seen many shields. He had even seen a godly weapon like Yinlao Er's, but this was the first time he had seen something like this. To be able to absorb magic, this shield was quite terrifying. After absorbing Mingdu's magic with the shield in Huang Helu's hand faintly flowed with lightning. At the same time, Huang Helu did not hesitate to use shield bash on the stunned Mingdu. Seeing Huang Helu attack him, Mingdu hurriedly retreated. Boom! Huang Helu's attack missed, and the lightning flowing on the shield blasted under Mingdu's feet. Mingdu's HP plummeted. At the same time, Huang Helu charged at Mingdu. It's aerial charge! Everyone was slightly surprised when they saw Huang Helu charging at Mingdu without any skill stun. Due to the long stun time of a shield warrior's skills and attacks, it was difficult for the average shield warrior to perform a combo attack. However, expert players with excellent technical skills could perform combo attacks according to the prerequisites of their class's skills and the stun time of the skill. For example, after shield bash missed, the shield warrior would bend forward and become weightless. In this way, the shield warrior's prerequisites and the stun time of the shield bash would be offset at the same time. This was also known as aerial charge. After Huang Helu missed, he used charge, so it was also known as aerial charge. Chapter 8:26. Huang Helu and Mingdu were not far from each other. In an instant, he arrived in front of Mingdu. Mingdu's figure flashed, and he teleported to the edge of the arena. Huang Helu wanted to chase after him, but when he saw where Mingdu was, he suddenly remembered Lucifer's words, so he quickly stopped. Mingdu had planned to trick Huang Helu. At this time, seeing that Huang Helu did not chase after him, he waved the staff in his hand in the air, and a lightning bolt was released from Mingdu's chest, forming a beam of light that rushed straight at Huang Helu. Lightning Flash, a level 40 thunder spell skill. It could emit lightning with strong penetration power, attacking all enemies in a row at the same time. Huang Helu raised his shield and once again absorbed all the magic. After absorbing the lightning flash, the lightning on Huang Helu's shield became brighter. "Oh, the shield is not bad," Mingdu said with a smile. Ordinary shields also had magic resistance, and it was not too surprising to block the thunder spear. However, although lightning flash was an area of effect magic, its damage was not inferior to single-target magic. Huang Helu's shield took a lightning flash head-on, and the block value did not decrease at all. It could be seen that this shield was not ordinary. You know how powerful it is. It's not too late to admit defeat," Huang Helu said proudly. Mingdu narrowed his eyes and said, "You have to use it carefully, don't break my shield." Mingdu was the most gangster in Xuanzhen. If others wanted something, they would have to go through the process of taking it by force or trickery. But if this guy wanted something, he did not even ask for the owner's opinion and directly gave it to him. As he spoke, Mingdu once again cast an overwhelming magic at Huang Helu. Humph! Huang Helu raised his shield to protect himself and snorted coldly. "Before you talk big, you have to see if you have the ability to do so." Having learned his lesson from the previous 4 failures, Huang Helu did not dare to approach the edge of the arena and engage in close combat. However, his shield was truly powerful. Mingdu's spells were completely useless against it and were all absorbed by the shield. For a time, the two of them were in a stalemate. In reality, the current situation was extremely disadvantageous for Bright City. In the first exchange of blows, Bright City had been careless and struck by the magic energy released by the shield. As a result, he had lost a significant amount of HP. If this continued, Bright City would lose without a doubt. Relatively speaking, Huang Helu was very relaxed. He knew that Mingdu would run out of mana sooner or later. Once a mage ran out of mana, even if Mingdu hid at the edge of the ring, Huang Helu was not afraid. At this moment, Mingdu suddenly stopped bombarding Yellow Crane Tower. What is it? Are you going to admit defeat? Huang Helu said provocatively. Damn it, I've never seen such a tortoise shell. Mingdu sighed and said, Okay, I admit defeat this round. With that said, Mingdu retreated to the edge of the ring, faced Huang Helu, and jumped off the ring. I won. Seeing that Mingdu had really committed suicide, Huang Helu's tense nerves suddenly relaxed. A satisfied smile appeared on his face, and he no longer held the shield in his hand. However, at this moment, Huang Helu looked down and suddenly saw a white light shining on his body. Immediately afterward, Huang Helu felt weightless. By the time he reacted, the scene had changed, and he was already under the ring. Yeah. Seeing where he was, Huang Helu was suddenly dumbfounded. The expression on his face was blank and angry, extremely conflicted. Hee, I'm sorry. Just as Huang Helu was puzzled, Mingdu squatted on the ring, crossed his arms, and looked at Huang Helu below. I didn't expect you to be so stupid. I've already said that the one who surrenders is a coward, and you still believe that I will surrender. F*ck your mother. Huang Helu cursed under the ring and was sent out of the ring with a face full of despair. In the first round, the motley crew won 5 o'clock, and in all 5 rounds, the Satan crew was beaten out of the ring. This made the audience in the ring gasp in amazement. The audience followed the motley crew to watch the matches. The only ones who showed strong strength in this group were Bao San and Yang Na. Wang Yu was just a flash in the pan, and it was later covered up by conspiracy theories. Therefore, in the eyes of the audience, this group of wretched fellows from Chuanjin only knew how to play trick. Compared to the Satan crew, who had real strength, there was still a gap. Therefore, most of the audience thought that the winner of this special match would definitely be the Satan crew. Who knew that the motley crew, who only knew how to play tricks, had real strength to such an extent. They threw their opponents out of the ring in all 5 rounds. This kind of strength and confidence was absolutely not the slightest bit of luck. As for the Chuanjin crew, the audience was both angry and amused at the same time. Meow, they clearly had the ability to crush their opponents, but they had to rely on trick. If they could act shamelessly, they would absolutely not put in more effort. What kind of people were these fellows? They were too disgusting. F*ck. This group of trash is too sinister. After the first round, Lucifer also realized that the opponents in front of him were not ordinary, and his expression began to turn serious. Looks like we have to use our ultimate move this time. Beetlenut, how many 5 thunder fruits do we have left? Lucifer asked Beetlenut solemnly. 5 thunder fruit? Beetlenut was slightly surprised. Didn't you say that it would only be used during the Pro League? Lucifer said, We can't care so much. If we don't use it now, we won't have a chance to use it. After the first round, Lucifer had a deep understanding of the true strength of the Chuanjin crew. The strength of the Satan crew compared to the strength of the Chuanjin crew was indeed a bit lacking, but not by too much. Therefore, if they wanted to win the match, they had to rely on special tools. Not much, just enough for each person to have a set. Beetlenut said with lingering fear. The cost of this thing is too expensive. We wasted more than half of the materials in our guild's warehouse to make these. That's enough. Lucifer nodded. Divide them into groups. I don't believe that we can't kill them. In order to deal with the Chuanjin crew, Lucifer and the others worked hard on their equipment and tools. For the first time, the Chuanjin crew and the Satan crew had the same idea. They also worked hard on the Satan crew's equipment. Hey, did you guys see that? That shield is really good. Should we get it? Mingdu came down from the ring, still thinking about the shield in Huang Helu's hands. It couldn't be helped. No mage would not have a deep impression of such a shield. You're a mage. What do you need a shield for? Wang Yu asked, puzzled. Mingdo said, Give it to second brother. For second brother? Wang Yu touched his chin and said, This isn't like you. Would you steal equipment for others? That's true. I can go through fire and water for you guys, Mingdu said shamelessly. Really? Why don't we believe it? Everyone curled their lips. You can't be a fake Mingdu, right? Old Cow, quickly hold him down. Let's study him. There was nothing wrong with saying that Mingdu had died a few times for everyone. But when it came to exquisite equipment, it was obviously nonsense. Okay. Wang Yu smiled and pressed Mingdu to the ground with a claw. Mingdu shouted, Don't, I'm real. Don't you think it's beneficial for me to have this kind of equipment on one of our own? Everyone nodded thoughtfully. Yes, this is the real Mingdu. Chapter 8:27. Not only Mingdu, but most of the people in Chuanjin had this kind of wretched mentality. Anything that was disadvantageous to them, even if they couldn't use it, they had to get it into their own hands or the hands of their own people. Only then could they guarantee that they wouldn't be targeted by others. It couldn't be helped. After being chased by others so many times, it became a habit over time. That's easy. Wuji thought about it and said, When we meet that kid later, let Old Cow take it. Rob? That's not a good idea. Hearing Wuji's words, Wang Yu was in a difficult position. Snatching something from someone else's hands was no different from robbing. Wang Yu had always prided himself on being a noble person. He couldn't do such a thing. There's nothing bad about it. Wuji said, Think about it. The people on the other side aren't good people. This thing can only do more bad things in their hand. If we take it, it won't be robbery. It's called enforcing justice on behalf of the heavens. Do you understand? Really? Wang Yu was skeptical. He felt that something was wrong. Of course. Wuji patted Wang Yu's shoulder and said, When have I ever lied to you? I'll leave the responsibility of maintaining world peace to you. Do you understand? Okay. Wang Yu was finally convinced by Wuji. Therefore, some things weren't absolutely wrong from the start. It depended on which angle you looked at it from. For example, Wang Yu lacked a reason to convince himself. The third match began. The names of players from both sides were listed on the big screen. Team Satan, Lucifer, Beetle Nut, White Sands, Likun Yushi. Team Ragtag Bunch, Iron Ox Mingdu, Chun Xiang, Wuji, Mingjian Daoshu. Damn, what kind of luck is this? Old Cow is actually the first one. Seeing Wang Yu's name appear on the big screen, everyone in Chuanjin was excited. Due to the randomness of the roster battles, the results of the second round were always unknown. After all, the players' mechanical skills, classes, and even the limitations of the competition setting could affect the outcome of the battle. However, when he saw Wang Yu's name at the top, Chuanjin knew that the result of the match had been decided. Damn it, Old Cow, slow down. I'm going offline for a smoke. Mingdu grumbled as he clicked on the exit option. Chun Xiang also said, I'm going to the toilet. I'm going to drink some water, Wuji said. Hee hee. Chun Xiang grinned evilly and glanced at Wuji. Wuji, get lost. The others also had relaxed expressions on their faces. They took this opportunity to log off and rest. Competition was not an easy job. Although everyone did not compete most of the time, it was very tiring. On one hand, players needed to watch their opponents' matches to understand themselves and their opponent. On the other hand, there was always the possibility that something unexpected could happen in the arena and cause their match to be brought forward. The time of the match was controlled by the system. There was no room for error, not even a second. If a player dared to be late, the system dared to declare that they had lost. There was no room for them to show off. Everyone was human, so there was no need to lower themselves to the level of a machine. Therefore, once a player entered the arena, other than the stipulated rest time, they could not leave the arena freely for a few hours. Now that Wang Yu was the first to go up in the second round, the result was basically decided. The motley crew had won the first round. If they won this round, Harmony Team would definitely lose. Even if they had some ultimate moves, there was nothing to understand. Even Yang Na said that she wanted to go offline and touch up her makeup. Wang Yu broke down. Big sis, you're at home playing games. Who are you going to put on makeup for? None of your business. Yang Na's reply was very philosophical. Hearing Yang Na's words, Wang Yu wanted to go offline and teach these bastards a lesson. The match began, and the players from both sides were sent into the arena. Seeing that the motley crew had a total of 5 players and 4 were absent, the audience was completely shocked. F***ck, what's the meaning of this? Why is there only 1 player from the motley crew? Did the others forfeit or something? Everyone was guessing. That can't be. Now that 1 person has entered the arena, they can't surrender, right? Said a player who understood the rules of the competition. The rules of surrender in Rebirth were very strict. In order to prevent cheating between teams, forfeiting the match could only be decided before the players entered the arena. Once a player entered the arena, the match would officially begin. Only when there was only 1 player left in the team could they choose to surrender. Now that Wang Yu had entered the arena, there was no reason for the others not to be there, unless the other players from the motley crew were offline. Thinking of this, everyone's gaze fell on the motley crew. They saw that only Mu Zixian was left in the motley crew, staring at the big screen and cheering for Wang Yu. Seeing this scene, the audience was shocked again. F***ck, going offline during the match? These guys must be crazy. The members of the Satan team were even more furious. F***ck, these bastards are too pretentious. They actually looked down on us. This time, we'll teach them a lesson. The map was selected, Sunset Farm. Under the setting sun, a vast farm, houses, water wheels, and other structures were scattered among them. This was a typical Yu Huiqing map. Wang Yu's first opponent was still Lucifer. With the previous lesson, Lucifer, who was fighting against Wang Yu for the second time, was clearly much more cautious. Seeing that Wang Yu had chosen Yu Huiqing this time, Lucifer immediately became alert and hurriedly ran to the water wheel not far away. As an expert, Lucifer knew that this tall water wheel was the most important strategic location on this map. Wang Yu was a Grandmaster of Combat and a Grandmaster of Qinggong. This height was something that Wang Yu could easily jump up, but a cumbersome paladin could only stare from below. If Wang Yu used this terrain as cover, Lucifer would definitely not be able to do anything. Little did he know that when Wang Yu had chosen the map, he hadn't thought too much about it. The reason why Wang Yu had chosen this map was because Wang Yu felt that this map looked familiar, so he clicked on it. Lucifer jogged all the way. Just as he ran to the place where the water wheel was the easiest to jump onto, he discovered that Wang Yu had strolled leisurely to the entrance of Farm Street and was looking at him with a blank expression. "What are you doing? Can you jump up?" Wang Yu said disdainfully. No matter how short the water wheel was, it still had height. Among the 7 major professions, other than Grandmasters of Combat, it was difficult for the other professions to climb up without special skills. Paladins, the most cumbersome professions, didn't even need to be mentioned. Even if they could climb up, fighting a Grandmaster of Combat on this kind of terrain was basically no different from courting death. After all, each profession had its own specialization. Chapter 828. Lucifer didn't think that Wang Yu would choose to fight him at the entrance of the village. After all, there was no reason for a Grandmaster of Combat to fight a paladin head-on. So, Lucifer stopped about 10 meters away from the entrance of the street, on the path to the water wheel. "Stop talking nonsense, come and fight me." Lucifer raised his finger at Wang Yu. Of course, Wang Yu wasn't afraid of Lucifer. Seeing that Lucifer had stopped provoking him, he jumped over. Lucifer saw Wang Yu jump over in midair, so he lowered his head and used charge on Wang Yu. Wang Yu didn't panic. He stepped on the air, and his body suddenly jumped higher, above Lucifer. Just as Lucifer ran under Wang Yu suddenly dropped down with Eagle Stamp. Eagle Stamp followed by Thunder Stamp, stepping on the back of Lucifer's neck. Lucifer cried out in pain and was stomped to the ground by Wang Yu's 3 consecutive kicks. As expected of the paladin, the class with the toughest skin. After taking 2 skills from Wang Yu, not only did Lucifer not die, but he still had about 50% of his health left. Wang Yu turned around, and just as he was about to kick Lucifer's head, he didn't think that Lucifer, who was stepped on by Wang Yu, would suddenly jump up and dodge Wang Yu's next attack. At the same time, Lucifer turned around and threw a black object at Wang Yu. What kind of skill did Wang Yu have? He could even catch an arrow shot from a bow, so how could something thrown by hand hit him? Wang Yu casually grabbed the black hidden weapon in Wang Yu's hand. F***ck. Seeing that Wang Yu had caught his hidden weapon, Lucifer's heart suddenly tightened. The item that Lucifer tossed was called 5 Thunder Fruit. It was a throwing item that could explode, just like Molotov cocktails. It was a special item that could be crafted by an epic skill of a sideshow thief. This thing was quite powerful. It had a large explosion range, high damage, and came with a crowd control effect. However, there was one thing that was very annoying. This thing would explode instantly upon hitting the enemy, but once the enemy caught it with their hand, the explosion would be delayed. Lucifer was so focused on throwing his items that he forgot that Wang Yu knew how to catch hidden weapons. Unexpectedly, after Wang Yu grabbed the hidden weapon, he did not throw it back or throw it away. Instead, he looked at it carefully. The appearance of the 5 Thunder Fruit was a black spherical object. It looked extremely ugly. There were no sharp thorns on it. It did not look like something that could hurt people. Wang Yu was very curious if Lucifer had been driven crazy by him to actually throw shit at him. What the hell is this? Wang Yu muttered in confusion. He then inspected the 5 Thunder Fruit's attribute. 5 Thunder Fruit, throwing item, deals 30% true damage to targets within a 300-meter radius and generates a crowd control effect. Durability, 0/1 note. This item can only be used once. It will explode in 3 seconds after its durability reaches 0. It will explode? Seeing this, Wang Yu was shocked. He hurriedly threw the 5 Thunder Fruit in his hand, but it was too late. Boom! As soon as the 5 Thunder Fruit left his hand, it exploded. The 300-meter radius of the 5 Thunder Fruit's explosion directly engulfed Wang Yu. Wang Yu's HP dropped by 30%. Immediately after, his vision turned black and he could not see anything. At the same time, Wang Yu received a system notification. You have been forcefully blinded. Duration of blind, 600 seconds. Wang Yu. It was actually blind. After a player was blind, they would lose all their vision. This was equivalent to adding a buff on the opponent's invisibility that would not be interrupted. It was a very troublesome debuff. Normally, a blind would only last for a few seconds, at most 10 seconds. However, this 5 Thunder Fruit was really ruthless. He was blinded for a full 600 seconds. 600 seconds was equivalent to 10 minutes. What did it mean for an assassin to not have his back broken within 10 minutes, no matter how he attacked while in stealth? Even the most powerful tank would be stabbed to death many times, alright? Lucifer was shocked once again when he saw that Wang Yu could be blasted like that. What the hell? Instead of throwing the 5 Thunder Fruit away, he was playing with it in his hand. Was this guy's brain empty? However, shock was one thing. Seeing that Wang Yu had been hit, Lucifer was indescribably excited. He casually took out another 5 Thunder Fruit. Lucifer was just about to blast Wang Yu again. However, when he saw the blind mark above Wang Yu's head, he was instantly overjoyed. That's great. King got blind on my first hit. Looks like I can save my 5 Thunder Fruit. Lucifer was secretly delighted. He slapped a talisman on his scepter. The scepter flashed with a white light and turned into a 2-handed sword. Lucifer raised the sword and slashed at Wang Yu, who was still motionless after being blinded by the 5 Thunder Fruit. F***ck. The motley crew lost too unjustly this time. The audience could not help but sigh when they saw Wang Yu being ambushed. They did not feel sorry for Wang Yu, but they were unhappy that the Satan battle team had successfully won the second round. After all, if the other members of the Chuanjian team had not gone offline, it was hard to say who would have won the match. However, just when everyone thought that Wang Yu was going to be cleaved in half by Lucifer's sword, Wang Yu's body suddenly moved slightly to the side. Lucifer's greatsword suddenly missed. It brushed past Wang Yu and slashed into the ground. At the same time, Wang Yu's hands suddenly stretched forward and pushed Lucifer's shoulders. Lucifer's body, which was already weightless, staggered and fell to the side. Lucifer was still an expert. Wang Yu did not use any skills. Lucifer swung his two-handed sword to the side and barely supported his body. He did not embarrass himself. What's going on? Lucifer, who had stabilized his body, had a huge change in expression. He asked the question that was on everyone's mind. Faced with Lucifer's doubts, Wang Yu still had his eyes closed. He did not move and ignored him. Lucifer took a few steps forward in confusion. He raised his sword and waved it in front of Wang Yu's eyes. As he waved it, he mumbled, "Is he really blind? He should be blind. Can the system make a mistake?" Seeing Lucifer's absurd behavior, the audience did not laugh. Instead, they empathized with him. They did not know how Wang Yu was able to dodge the attack just now. Moreover, he dodged it so accurately. It was as if he had seen it. This couldn't be blamed on them. Those who were familiar with Wang Yu, such as the people from Quanzhen, knew that Wang Yu often bragged about something called qi. Due to the effects of qi, a sense-like vision wasn't very important to Wang Yu. As for those who weren't familiar with Wang Yu, when they saw the scene just now where the system's rules were subverted, they would inevitably doubt their lives. Lucifer swayed a few times. Seeing that Wang Yu really could not see, he casually swung his sword again. This time, he used a skill. The blind Wang Yu took a slight step back. He stretched out his right arm, and the boxing glove in his hand turned into a long rod. He hit the acupuncture point on Lucifer's shoulder. Chapter 829. Wang Yu casually pointed at Lucifer and interrupted him with his staff. He then swung his staff upwards and smashed it on Lucifer's temple. Bang! With a dull sound, Lucifer was stunned for a short period of time. Wang Yu retracted his staff and took a step forward. He used Burst Punch to cut into Lucifer's chest and slammed his palm on Lucifer's chest. Lucifer, who was already unsteady on his feet, took 2 steps back. Wang Yu followed up with another palm and cut into Lucifer's ribs. Finally, he used his fingers like a knife and stabbed into Lucifer's throat. If it was anyone else, they would be dead after taking all of Wang Yu's combo. However, Lucifer was a paladin. His armor was like a tortoise's shell. Wang Yu did not have any armor penetration damage. When this combo landed on Lucifer's body, Lucifer only took a few steps back. After the defense value of Lucifer's armor offset the damage, Wang Yu's 3 palms and 1 punch only managed to deal 18,000 damage. Even though this damage was already shocking to a grandmaster of combat and scared Lucifer out of his wits, to Wang Yu, the combo that did not instantly kill Lucifer was obviously a failure. Lucifer was the paladin with the highest judgment. After Wang Yu's 3 palms, Lucifer managed to stabilize his body in time. This brat was also extremely shameless. Relying on his thick skin and great strength, he crossed his arms and wanted to pull Wang Yu into his arms. How could Wang Yu let him do as he wished with this kind of unskilled method? Wang Yu lowered his body and pushed his right hand forward. The staff extended again, and this time, it reached between Lucifer's legs. Immediately after that, Wang Yu took a step to the side and stuck the end of the staff in the back of Lucifer's left leg. Using Lucifer's right knee as a fulcrum, he turned 180 degrees. A great physicist once said, "Give me a fulcrum and I can pry up the earth." A lever can even move the earth, let alone Lucifer's leg. After being pried up by Wang Yu, Lucifer suddenly knelt on the ground. At that time, Wang Yu had already turned behind Lucifer. He retracted his staff and jumped up and stomped on the back of Lucifer's head. Lucifer was directly stomped to the ground. Wang Yu stepped on Lucifer's back and launched a series of raging chain punches at the back of Lucifer's head. Lucifer's HP had already been reduced by more than half by Wang Yu. Now that he was hit by Wang Yu's ultimate skill, his outcome was obvious. After Overlord Chain Punch, Lucifer was smashed into a white light and sent out of the arena. Looking at the place where Lucifer disappeared, the audience was silent. They couldn't imagine how a blind Grandmaster of Combat could beat a paladin to death so accurately with his punches. After Lucifer died, Beetle Nut was immediately sent into the battlefield. Satan's spawn point was not far from the street. Once he entered the battlefield, Beetle Nut saw the motionless Wang Yu standing there. At the same time, he also saw the blinding symbol on Wang Yu's head. As Beetle Nut was outside the battlefield, he did not see how Lucifer disappeared. At that moment, Beetle Nut saw the blinding symbol on Wang Yu's head and could not help but be secretly happy. "Hey boss, not bad. He gave this guy a blinding before he died. This is the rhythm of letting me pick up his head." Thinking of this, Beetle Nut, this assassin, did not even use stealth. He actually swaggered towards Wang Yu. Looking at Beetle Nut's suicidal behavior, the audience collectively mourned for him for a second. Lucifer and the other players in Satan's team were so anxious that they were about to cry. F***ck, he didn't even use stealth. Beetle Nut is seeking death. As they spoke, Beetle Nut had already tiptoed behind Wang Yu. His dagger flashed and he used backstab towards the back of Wang Yu's waist. The damage of an assassin's backstab was doubled. The damage was terrifyingly high. Beetle Nut originally thought that this stab of his would be enough to kill a mere Grandmaster of Combat twice. Who knew that before Beetle Nut's dagger could stab, Wang Yu's right hand suddenly reached back and grabbed Beetle Nut's wrist. At the same time, he used Ferocious Tiger Strike. Assassins and Grandmasters of Combat had similar priority. They were both weaker group. Being grabbed by Wang Yu, Beetle Nut was instantly dragged in front of Wang Yu. Immediately after, Wang Yu's left hand followed up and grabbed Beetle Nut's throat, pressing him to the ground. Following that, his right hand groped Beetle Nut's face and released a chi wave. Beetle Nut didn't even have the time to make a sound before he was blasted into dust by Wang Yu. Beetle Nut, who had been blasted out of the arena, clearly didn't know what had happened. He still maintained his position of being pressed down. Only when he saw the furious Lucifer and the others did he realize that he had already been killed. "You piece of trash, why didn't you use stealth?" Lucifer said angrily. "Wasn't he blinded?" Beetle Nut said, feeling wronged. Since the opponent couldn't see him, using stealth was basically like painting a snake with legs. Lucifer said, F***ck, the blind effect is useless against him, do you know that? Only stealth is useful. Is that so? I don't think he can see. Beetle Nut thought for a moment. How can he catch you if he can't see? This guy is just pretending not to see. He definitely has anti-blinding equipment on him. Lucifer still stubbornly believed that if Wang Yu was really blind, he definitely wouldn't be so fierce. Satan Battle Team's third player was called White Sand. White Sand's class was the same as Beetle Nut's, also an assassin. However, White Sand was clearly smarter than Beetle Nut. When he entered the arena, he saw the nearby Wang Yu being blinded. White Sand also thought that his teammate from the previous match had left him a kill. However, after thinking about it again, Beetle Nut was also an assassin. For him to be able to kill his opponent after blinding him, this guy definitely had resistance to blind. Thus, White Sand calmly hid his body. Seeing White Sand turn into a shadow on the screen, Lucifer and the others let out a long sigh of relief. Finally, there was someone with intelligence online. However, following that, Lucifer and the others once again fell into a state of collapse. Originally, White Sand had run behind Wang Yu and was just about to attack, But Wang Yu seemed to have eyes behind his back. Once again, he strangely extended his hand, strangled his throat, pressed down, and killed with a chi wave. This set of skills was executed smoothly, and White Sand died without knowing why. White Sand died, but Lucifer wasn't as angry as before. This was because reality had proven that stealth was also useless against Wang Yu. Satan Battle Team's fourth player, Li Kun, was an archer. This guy was the same as Beetlenut, also someone who took it for granted. Seeing the blind symbol on Wang Yu's head, this guy didn't even pull away. He stood at the spawn point and started shooting at Wang Yu. F***ck me. Seeing that Li Kun was actually fooled by the blind symbol on Wang Yu's head, Lucifer's conflicted feelings didn't need to be mentioned at first. Lucifer was extremely happy that he had successfully blinded Wang Yu. At this moment, how he wished that he hadn't blinded Wang Yu. Chapter 830. Seeing that Wang Yu had been blinded, Li Kun was extremely excited. Without saying anything, she drew her bow and nocked an arrow. She aimed at Wang Yu and shot one arrow after another. Li Kun was only 4 or 5 meters away from Wang Yu. An archer's trajectory was extremely fast. At this distance, even a person with their eyes open would find it hard to dodge, let alone Wang Yu who was blinded. In a flash, the arrows flew in front of Wang Yu. At this moment, Wang Yu suddenly made a move. His hands moved left and right, and the arrows fell to the ground. Huh! Li Kun was shocked. She quickly took 2 steps back and fired at Wang Yu again. Several arrows whistled through the air. This time, Wang Yu did not dodge, nor did he shoot down the arrows. Li Kun's arrows hit Wang Yu's body and directly passed through. Hua! The sound of glass breaking could be heard. Wang Yu turned into pieces. It's an afterimage. Seeing this scene, Li Kun was shocked. She quickly dodged backward, turned around and ran backward. As a result, she had just taken a step when she bumped into something soft. Li Kun raised her head in horror and took a closer look. Wang Yu was looking down at her from above, and what Li Kun bumped into was Wang Yu's tall and sturdy body. You bumped into me, quickly apologize. Wang Yu's eyes were blind, but she sounded very righteous. I'm sorry. Li Kun said sorry in panic, and then asked naively, Can I go now? In your dreams. Wang Yu stretched out his hand, and his huge palm grabbed Li Kun's head, as if he was grabbing a basketball. Although archers had long hands and long legs, and sharp attacks, their priority was the weakest among all the professions. They were even worse than the useless grandmaster of combat. Caught by a melee master like Wang Yu, how could Li Kun escape unscathed? Wang Yu did not even use any of his skills, and Li Kun could not break free from Wang Yu's clutches. Wang Yu was tall and strong with long arms. He grabbed Li Kun's head with his hand and stretched his arm forward. No matter how Li Kun flailed and threw punches, she couldn't touch Wang Yu at all. F***ck. Li Kun also felt Wang Yu's malice and immediately flew into a rage out of humiliation. She casually pulled out a golden dagger and slashed at Wang Yu's arm. Wang Yu loosened his grip and twisted Li Kun's arm behind her back. He flicked his thumb at the hilt of Li Kun's dagger. The dagger flew out of Li Kun's hand and stabbed into the ground not far away. Then, Wang Yu stepped on Li Kun's back and pressed her to the ground. F***ck, if you have the ability, give me a quick death. Li Kun struggled under Wang Yu's foot and roared. There's no hurry. Wang Yu said. You're the archer who stepped on Mario's head just now. You are not blind. Li Kun was surprised when she heard Wang Yu's words. When fighting with the Red Flame Battle Team, Li Kun's name was not revealed, so it stood to reason that as long as Wang Yu did not see her face, he would not know who Li Kun was. Wang Yu was blind now, but he actually knew Li Kun. How could he not be surprised? Wang Yu sighed and said, I'm blind. There are still a few minutes before it can be lifted. Otherwise, why do you think I'm talking nonsense with you? Wang Yu was not blind in reality. Even if he was proficient in the use of breath, He was not used to fighting without vision. At this time, he was stalling for time to lift the blindness. This was exactly what Lucifer wanted. After all, there was not much difference whether Wang Yu had vision or not. If there was no blinding mark, the players below should not underestimate the enemy. Since you are blind, how do you know it's me? Li Kun's thoughts were still on why Wang Yu recognized her. Your moves and attack habits, I can feel it. Wang Yu said casually. You can feel it? Hearing Wang Yu's words, not only Li Kun, but the others in the audience were also at a loss. For the sake of the players' emotions, the perception system in the game was very low. The word feel was obviously not suitable for this environment. Wang Yu could judge moves and attacks with his feelings. This was simply too fantastical for ordinary people. Naturally, Li Kun would not believe Wang Yu's nonsense. However, being controlled by someone, Li Kun did not dare to point at Wang Yu's nose and say that he was bragging. After being stunned for a while, she said bitterly, There are so many opponents in front of you, why are you only bullying me? Well, Wang Yu said without hesitation, you are the easiest to bully. I can't hold down the others, and it's not easy for me to catch you when I'm blind. Wang Yu's words pierced the heart. Li Kun was speechless and choked. Li Kun's priority was lower than Wang Yu's, and she was caught by Wang Yu's backend. She could not run even if she wanted to. Wang Yu half squatted and stepped on Li Kun's back. The two of them, one on top and one on bottom, talked nonsense. After a few minutes, Wang Yu's blindness was finally lifted. Seeing the light again made Wang Yu know how to cherish the beauty in front of him. Yes, talking to you is quite fun. Wang Yu let go of Li Kun's hand and stood up. Li Kun was overjoyed. Then are you going to bang? Before Li Kun could say the words, let go of me, Wang Yu's foot descended with lightning, instantly crushing Li Kun's head. Huh? I acted too quickly just now. What did he want to say? Wang Yu touched the back of his head, his face full of doubt. The naive Li Kun was teleported back to the camp. Her eyes were filled with tears and she said bitterly, Motherf *her, he didn't even let me finish speaking. Seeing his own subordinates so embarrassed, Lucifer almost went mad with anger. However, things had already come to this, and there was no other way. Wang Yu's opponent in the 5th round, Yushi, was a mage. Even a paladin like Lucifer could not beat a blind fighter like Wang Yu. There was no hope for a mage. Seeing that after Wang Yu killed Li Kun, he ran to the Satan battle team's spawn point and waited there. Lucifer could already see the ending of the 2nd round. Right now, the 2nd round was already a foregone conclusion. Even if they won the 3rd round, the Satan battle team would not be able to turn the situation around. However, Lucifer and Wuji had agreed beforehand that they would fight to the death. Whoever surrendered was a grandson, and whoever dared to go back on their words was a tortoise bastard. Should they be a grandson or a tortoise bastard? This was a difficult question. The best outcome was of course to not do anything. However, they had already been beaten bald twice in the first 2 rounds. They definitely could not lose so badly in the 3rd round. Although the Satan battle team did not have a good reputation in the past, at least their strength was known to everyone. If they got a duck in the 3rd round, the Satan battle team's reputation would be completely ruined. Thinking of this, Lucifer gritted his teeth and called Beetle Nut to his side, saying, Go to the guild warehouse and bring my brother and the others' equipment over. This isn't good. Hearing Lucifer's words, Beetle Nut's body trembled, and his face revealed a terrified expression. Don't tell me you still want to be shaved bald in the 3rd round? Lucifer asked Beetle Nut. No. Beetle Nut shook his head desperately. Then go quickly, Lucifer said. Beetle Nut panicked, saying, I will be beaten to death. Chapter 831. The result of the 5th match was just as Lucifer had predicted. With Wang Yu's strength, even if he was ambushed, he would be able to counterattack. Moreover, he was waiting for him to make the first move. Yushi had just appeared in the arena when Wang Yu grabbed him and broke his neck. Yushi didn't even get to use the 5 thunder fruit that he had prepared earlier. Yushi didn't even get a chance to make a sound before turning into a beam of white light. In the second match, the motley crew won with a perfect score of 5 o'clock. How about it? Are you going to be a coward or continue? Wuji shouted at Lucifer from afar. Lucifer said with a cold expression, "You're the coward." With that, Lucifer chose to continue with the third match. Hee hee. Seeing that Lucifer had chosen to continue, Wuji chuckled. I was really afraid that he wouldn't continue. Everyone from Chuanjin. It had to be said that Wuji, this brat, really had a way of scheming against people. From the initial provocation to the current luring, Lucifer was completely led by the nose by Wuji. Step by step, he was led into a trap. Even Lucifer's provocation at the beginning seemed to be part of Wuji's plan. The people of Chuanjin even thought that if Lucifer hadn't taken the initiative to request a voice call, Wuji would have connected with him. This treacherous B*TCH was always scheming against others. There was a 10-minute break between the second and third match. Just as the match was about to begin, Exquisite Dream, who had been observing Satan Battle Team and was in charge of scouting, suddenly said, They really changed their equipment. Really? After Exquisite Dream said that, everyone looked towards Satan Battle Team's camp. They saw that all the players in Satan Battle Team had changed their equipment. From the light emitted by the equipment, it should be a full set of dark gold equipment. SSS. Everyone from the Chuanjin sect inhaled a breath of cold air as they looked at Wuji in shock. A full set of dark gold equipment, and there was more than one. Even a battle team as wealthy as the Quanjin sect didn't have a full set of dark gold equipment. Even a super expert like Wang Yu had a few pieces of gold equipment on him. As for the others, there was no need to mention them. Chun Xiang even had bronze equipment. Ever since Chuanjin entered the game, they had many miraculous encounters. Other than having no one, they had everything else. They were definitely one of the top teams in the game. If even they were surprised, it could be seen how expensive these 10 sets of dark gold equipment were. Of course, this wasn't what surprised the Chuanjin people the most. What surprised the Chuanjin people the most was that from the start, Wuji had determined that Lucifer would definitely use his trump card in the last battle. They didn't expect that Wuji would actually be right. Could it be that Wuji was a roundworm in Lucifer's brain? Why are you looking at me? Wuji waved his hand. I didn't know they were so generous to get so many dark gold grade equipment. Even those top pro teams don't have full sets of dark gold equipment. Chun Xiang was speechless. 1 or 2 sets of dark gold equipment was understandable, but 10 sets of dark gold equipment was simply incomprehensible. In this era where silver equipment was the mainstream, gold equipment was only used to show off. Dark gold equipment was a legend in the eyes of ordinary players. Famous Sword Daoshua shook his head. Maybe not in the past, but I can't say for sure now. Don't forget, the Pro League is about to start. Oh, that's true. Hearing Daoshua's words, everyone nodded. The Pro League was incredibly important to pro players. Equipment was absolutely necessary before the competition. Every pro team had tens of thousands of players supporting them, so their equipment had to be maintained to the highest standard. It was only natural that there would be a large demand for dark gold equipment. Wang Yu was a little confused. Their drop rate is that high? How many bosses did they farm to get so many good items? Everyone wiped their sweat. Drop rate my ass. Yuan is the #1 productivity, don't you know? So he bought it. Wang Yu finally understood. Of course bought. What else do you think? Everyone curled their lips. One had to know that every set, excluding weapons and accessories, had at least 4 pieces. Clothes, pants, shoes, and helmet. 10 sets added up to at least 40 pieces. The drop rate of dark gold equipment was so low. It was impossible for tens of thousands of players to get 10 full set. But when considering the total number of players in the game, this number wasn't high. There were hundreds of millions of players in the game. 40 pieces of dark gold equipment really wasn't a lot. As long as they had enough yuan, they could get 100 from this. It could be seen that yuan was always the most buggy cheat. Mingdu licked his lips and said greedily, "Hee hee. It doesn't matter if he bought it or not. It'll all be ours later." "What do you mean? Robbery? This is worth a lot of money," Wang Yu asked warily. Wuji quickly said, "Don't talk nonsense. We're getting rid of evil for the people and enforcing justice on behalf of the heavens." "Is that so?" Wang Yu glanced at him. "It's true. Have you forgotten how badly old Ma and the others were bullied?" The others from Chuanjin swore. "I believe you." Wang Yu nodded with certainty. Wang Yu wasn't a fool. Of course, he wouldn't be fooled so easily. The reason why he said this was because everyone mentioned old Ma, who was rolling Mario. Thinking of what the Satan battle team did in the last match, Wang Yu felt that stealing their equipment was letting them off easy. Lucifer and the others' previous equipment was actually not bad, but it paled in comparison to a full set of dark gold equipment. Under the envy of the hundreds of thousands of spectators in the arena, the Satan Battle Squadron's players, who had changed their shotguns to cannons, were incomparably proud of themselves. After all, things like equipment were meant to be taken out to show off. With Lucifer's personality of being in the limelight, being able to show off so much in broad daylight, he felt that it was worth it even if he lost all his hair in 3 matches. However, Lucifer and his subordinates didn't realize that they had become the target of a group of even more ferocious people. The third match finally began. Most of the players on both sides were still the same as before. The only difference was that on the mob battle team's side, Exquisite Dream, who had been sitting on the bench all this while, had replaced Yin Lao Air. Chuanjin's action of replacing the tank profession made the others puzzled. If it was any other profession, it wouldn't have mattered. However, it was a shield warrior. This made everyone scratch their heads. This was because the role of a shield warrior was absolutely crucial. Without a tank, they couldn't even form a team, let alone fight a team. The mob battle team had replaced the shield warrior with an archer. Could it be that after winning 2 matches in a row, they knew that victory was in sight, so they let the substitute players go on stage to experience it? Or could it be that after winning 2 matches in a row, this group of people had become arrogant? Chapter 832. For the third match, the map Wang Yu chose was called Hidden Fog Forest. Seeing this map, the audience was even more puzzled. Although this map was not small and was all forest terrain, it was more suitable for archers to fight. However, because the forest was filled with a layer of fog, the visibility was extremely poor. This led to the opposite effect. The archers who originally had an advantage in the forest terrain were basically in a half-useless state. Since it was a motley crew who chose the map, why did they choose the most disadvantageous one? Could it be that it was like fighting the king of fighters and letting them win? Impossible. Just now, these 2 bastard teams were about to fight to the death. When did they become so appreciative of each other? Because of the thick fog in the forest, visibility was very low. After both sides appeared at the spawn point, they could not see the other side at all. The 2 people from the imperial capital, Wuji and Bao San, were deeply touched by the thick fog in front of them. This should be the smell of home. After sighing, Wuji took out an eyeball grass from his pocket and inserted it into the ground. After confirming that there was no other assassin beside him, Wuji took out his precious glasses and put it on the bridge of his nose. The vision of the glasses ignored the obstacles of the night and the fog. The whereabouts of the Satan battle team suddenly appeared in front of Wuji. Lucifer and the others had just changed into the best equipment and were still feeling fresh in their hearts. Each of them had the kind of smile that wanted to show off but was forced to keep a low profile. It was very strange. This group of guys seemed to be extremely confident in their equipment. Relying on the advantage of their equipment, they were completely unafraid of being ambushed. At this time, they were rushing in the direction of the motley crew's spawn point. "They're coming. Everyone, follow me." Seeing that the Satan battle team was coming over, he gave an order in the channel, then turned around and ran to the right side of the spawn point. Seeing this, the others followed closely behind and quietly ran a few meters to the right side of the spawn point. They stood quietly behind Wuji without saying a word. Soon, Lucifer held a giant shield and walked in front with Huang Helu. They brought the team to the spawn point of the motley crew. Seeing that there was no one here, Lucifer could not help but be stunned. In this kind of thick fog, they could be ambushed at any time. The best way was to not move around. However, there was no one here, which was really beyond Lucifer's expectations. "Is there a situation up ahead?" Lucifer opened the channel and asked Assassin Beetlenut. Beetlenut, who was leading the way, replied, "We didn't see anyone along the way. They must have run off to the sides." "Yes, got it." Lucifer nodded, then pointed to the two sides and said to his subordinates, "Everyone, split up and search on both sides." "All right." Satan's battle team quickly split into two groups. One group was led by Lucifer and headed to the left. The other group was led by Huang Helu and headed to the right where Chuanjin's team was. Seeing that Lucifer had divided his men into two groups, Wuji couldn't help but sneer. "I thought this idiot had some intelligence, but now it seems that he's really stupid." In this kind of ambush terrain, it wasn't just one side that was the ambusher. Once they entered the battlefield, both sides would be the hunter and the prey. The biggest taboo was to split up and move separately. Lucifer had thought of ambushing his opponent, but he had forgotten that his opponent would ambush him. He was simply an arrogant fool. Other than White Sand and Beetlenut, who were leading the way, Satan's battle team was divided into two groups, with 4 people in each group. Following Huang Helu to the right were Ruo Zhonghua Yushi and Li Kun. These 3 guys were long-range professions, and only Huang Helu was a tank. Huang Helu took the lead, and the 3 followed behind him carefully. As the 4 of them got closer and closer to Chuanjin's team, Li Kun, who had better eyesight, suddenly shouted, Why is the fog here pink? Is it?" When Huang Helu and the others heard this, they quickly looked around. Sure enough, the color of the fog around them was different from other places. However, no one took it to heart. Pink was pink. Since it was all fog, it didn't matter what color it was. This was a competitive map. Could there be some hidden dungeon? Thinking of this, Huang Helu continued to lead the 3 forward. However, after a few steps, Li Kun suddenly felt that her body was being pulled by someone and could no longer move. As Li Kun struggled, he wanted to shout that he had been attacked, but no matter how he shouted, he couldn't make a sound. At this moment, Li Kun finally realized that he had been muted, so he quickly opened the channel and wanted to report the situation. At this moment, an inconspicuous white light passed through the pink fog and pulled Li Kun out of the pink fog. When Li Kun opened his eyes again, he saw a group of people surrounding him. Among them, a big guy aroused the fear in Li Kun's heart. Beside the big guy, a woman was holding a black crossbow and looking at him with disdain. She sneered. "I thought it was some expert. Is this kind of trash worth me personally?" The group of people around the woman said, "It's worth it, it's worth it. Otherwise, wouldn't he have shouted, 'Sister Meng is mighty, Sister Meng is beautiful'? I like it when you tell the truth." The woman smiled stupidly and was extremely smug. *CK. I'm alone. No matter how stupid Li Kun was, he knew what had happened. He didn't expect to be surrounded by 10 people despite putting up so many defenses. Li Kun cursed in his heart and lifted his butt to run. However, just as Li Kun stood up, he was slapped to the ground by Wang Yu. "Behave yourself. If you move again, I'll strip you naked and hang you on a tree," Wang Yu said fiercely to Li Kun. Li Kun twisted his body, feeling rather indignant. He thought to himself, so be it. There's such a thick fog. No one can see it anyway. Uncle Nyo is so stupid. Is there any use hanging on a tree? No one can see it. At this moment, to place one's pride, mocked Wang Yu. Wang Yu chuckled. The people inside can't see it, but the hundreds of thousands of people outside can see it clearly. F***ck. Hearing Wang Yu's words, a look of despair flashed across Li Kun's face. He didn't dare to move again. The audience outside broke out in a cold sweat when they heard that. Indeed, evil people would be tortured by evil people. Team Satan deserved retribution for encountering this group of people. All right. Let's begin. Seeing that Li Kun had become obedient, Wuji gave a look to Wang Yu. Wang Yu took a step forward, grabbed Li Kun's arm and forcefully pulled down his bow. Seeing that his weapon was taken away, Li Kun's eyes were filled with panic. His heart was in a frenzy. He hurriedly opened the channel and shouted for help. "Boss, I've been kidnapped. They're robbing my weapon." "Robbing your weapon? Are you kidding me? This map will drop equipment?" Lucifer and the others clearly didn't believe it. The competition map was not a wild map. How could a dead person drop equipment? It's not equipment, it's robbing. My weapon was taken away by that iron ox. F***ck. The more Li Kun thought about it, the more frustrated he became. Chapter 833. I should be right behind you, Li Kun replied after giving it some thought. Although Li Kun hadn't been paying attention to his surroundings, he could sense that Wang Yu was pulling him from behind. All right, hold on for now. We're on our way. Wang Helu shouted in the chat, then turned and walked back. By then, Wang Yu had already walked to the side with Li Kun's bow. Wuji gave Ming Jian Daoxue a meaningful look. Ming Jian Daoxue smiled as he walked to Li Kun's side. Seeing Ming Jian Daoxue's gaze, Li Kun was frightened. He twisted his body to dodge, but before he could do so, Exquisite Dream raised her crossbow and fired an arrow at Li Kun's shadow. Li Kun's body froze once more. Ming Jian Daoxue walked up to Li Kun and placed his hand on Li Kun's chest. Suddenly, Li Kun's chest armor appeared in his hand. Holy crap, what's going on? Seeing Ming Jian Daoxue casually strip Li Kun's equipment, the audience's jaws dropped to the ground. Everyone knew about theft. It was the specialty of a godly thief. However, theft could only be used to steal items from a player's bag. What the hell was this? What was even more shocking was that Ming Jian Daoxue's theft had such a high success rate. Such a skill was simply unheard of. In truth, Ming Jian Daoxue's steal skill wasn't that high. Back in the Atlan dungeon, Ming Jian Daoxue had used steal who knew how many times in a row, but he had managed to max out this skill with a success rate of 60%. Out of every 2 attempts, he would succeed. How could it not be high? Oh, a wind elf chestplate. Dark gold equipment. Not bad. Old Dream, it's for you. Ming Jian Daoxue toyed with Li Kun's chest armor for a moment before tossing it to Exquisite Dream. Exquisite Dream stuffed it into her bag without even looking at it. Seeing Ming Jian Daoxue forcefully strip his dark gold chestplate, Li Kun's eyes flashed with fear. His face immediately revealed an expression of shock and anger. Fortunately, Li Kun had been muted by Linglong Meng. Otherwise, he would have burst into tears on the spot. This dark gold-grade equipment was something Lucifer had secretly obtained from the guild warehouse. It was absolutely priceless. If he lost it to Li Kun, it would be a grave sin. At this time, Li Kun was already bawling. She shouted for help in the team channel. Come quickly! There. Li Kun wanted to say that her equipment had been looted, but as she spoke up to this point, Li Kun suddenly froze and hurriedly swallowed the words she wanted to say. After mingling with Lucifer for so long, Li Kun naturally understood Lucifer's character. This gigolo was extremely perverted. He would do anything to outsiders, but he was also extremely ruthless towards his own people. If Lucifer found out about this, and famous sword Dao Shui dared to strip a layer of Li Kun's equipment, Lucifer would skin Li Kun a layer of skin. Where are they? Huang Helu and the others, who were here to support Li Kun, shouted anxiously. I've been looking for you for a long time, but I can't find you. It's all fog. Try shouting. I can't shout. I've been muted. Li Kun wanted to cry, but no tears came out. At this time, famous sword Dao Shui had already taken off Li Kun's hat. At the same time, his hand was touching Li Kun's pant. Take off your shoes, don't take off your pants. There's a woman here. Wang Yu saw that famous sword Dao Shui was about to strip Li Kun's pants and hurriedly stopped him. Hearing this, Li Kun looked at Wang Yu gratefully. Suddenly, she felt that Wang Yu was not as hateful as before. However, Wang Yu's next words made Li Kun spit out a mouthful of blood. Wang Yu explained to famous sword Dao Shui with a straight face, "Later, I'll strip your pants and beat you to death. That way, everyone won't be embarrassed. Let me do it. I'm faster. F*CKU. You'll die a horrible death." As Li Kun's heart burned with rage, Li Kun's shoes and pants were stripped off one after another. The moment famous sword Dao Shui took off Li Kun's pants, Wang Yu poked Li Kun's head with a rod and sent her flying out of the arena. Li Kun entered the arena dressed in top-grade equipment. When she exited the arena, she was stripped naked, leaving only her underwear on. In a moment of shame and anger, she chose to go offline. Compared to Li Kun's grief, Wang Yu and the others were all smiles. 4 pieces of dark gold equipment. Even the prize for the champion of this preliminaries might not be as generous as this. Thank you to the system, thank you to Satan Battle Team, and especially thank you to Lucifer. After fighting so many matches, this was the only time they had gotten something good. After killing Li Kun, Wuji looked around and said, "They've turned around. Let's go around them." Okay. The Chuanjin members, who had tasted the sweetness of victory, listened to Wuji at this moment. They followed behind Wuji and circled around the pink fog to the other side. At the same time, they saw Huang Helu and the others, who were lost in the pink fog. When they found the right time, Exquisite Dream and Wang Yu froze and grabbed again. Under Huan Zhonghua's gaze, Yushi, who was beside Huang Helu, was dragged away by Wang Yu. Ruan Zhonghua was just about to shout when another arrow came from outside the pink fog and froze Ruan Zhonghua as well. Wang Yu jumped to Huang Helu's side, leaned against Huang Helu, and quietly dragged Yushi out. When Huang Helu came back to his senses, he had already become a general without an army. They still snatched the weapons first, then stripped their clothes. Under the gazes of hundreds of thousands of spectators, Chuanjin stripped Yushi and Ruan Zhonghua of all their equipment and brutally killed them. Snatch everything, strip everything, kill everything. Such a heinous act made everyone think of the Japanese's 3 lights policy many years ago. Just like Li Kun, Yushi and Ruan Zhonghua lost contact after calling for help in the channel, but they tacitly did not mention that their equipment had been taken. After all, no one was stupid. They knew where their equipment came from, and they also knew the importance of their equipment. It was fine if they lost their lives, but if they lost their equipment, they could no longer play the game. Wang Yu was like a weasel, dragging away 3 of Huang Helu's teammates in a row. No matter how stupid Huang Helu was, he realized what was going on and quickly called out to Lucifer. "Boss, are you guys here yet? I'm the only one left here. Hear my *SS, there's fog everywhere. Give me a specific location." Lucifer had been looking for Huang Helu ever since Li Kun called for help. Even now, he still did not see Huang Helu, and he was very anxious. "It's where the pink fog is." Huang Helu looked around and found that the only landmark was the thick pink fog around them. Pink fog? Lucifer frowned when he heard that and said, "I saw the pink fog just now, but I didn't see you." "I'm in the fog," Huang Helu said. "No wonder. We were just outside. Wait for me, I'll be there soon." After Lucifer said that, he turned back with his subordinate. When Chuanzhen's group hid, they planted an eyeball grass in the middle of the road, so Lucifer's every move was within the grasp of Chuanzhen's people. Wuji, who was hiding on the other side of the pink fog, saw Lucifer return with his people. He pointed at Huang Helu and said to Exquisite Dream and Wang Yu, "Do it." Chapter 834. Following Wuji's order, Exquisite Dream aimed at Huang Helu and shot an arrow at him. Huang Helu was an expert, after all. Otherwise, Lucifer would not have let him lead a team alone. As soon as Exquisite Dream shot an arrow, Huang Helu sensed it. He turned around and casually raised the giant shield in his hand behind him. Thud! Unexpectedly, Exquisite Dream's arrow did not go for Huang Helu at all. Instead, it shot at the bottom of Huang Helu's feet. Huang Helu was slightly stunned. Just as he was about to turn around to see what was going on, he was surprised to find that he could not move, turning around with only one upper body. Everyone can try that action. I won't explain how uncomfortable it is to be immobilized. Before Huang Helu could sigh about his body position, Wang Yu jumped out again and dragged Huang Helu out of the pink fog. There was no other way. A shield warrior's priority was too high. Even if Huang Helu was immobilized, Wang Yu's cloud-grasping fist could not easily drag Huang Helu out. He could only use Tiger Strike and other grab skills. Just as Huang Helu and Wang Yu dragged him out of the pink fog, Lucifer and the others poked their heads out and looked around. "Huh? Old Huang, where are you guys?" Lucifer shouted after entering the pink fog area, and still did not see Huang Helu. Little did he know that Huang Helu had been captured by someone else after he called Lucifer into the pink fog area. As the saying goes, the furthest distance in the world is not that you don't know where I am, but that you and I can't see each other when we're standing face to face. Hearing Lucifer's shout, a dazzling golden light suddenly burst out of Huang Helu's body. Titan's Power, a level 45 ultimate skill for shield warriors. It can dispel all control effects. After successfully dispelling the immobilization and muting effects, Huang Helu turned around and ran into the pink fog. As he ran, he shouted, "I'm here." However, only Huang Helu's voice reached the ears of Lucifer and the others. No matter how Huang Helu crashed into it, every time he hit the pink mist, Huang Helu would make a strange turn and crash in the opposite direction. Wang Yu and the others crossed their arms, grinning as they watched Huang Helu stumble around like a headless fly. What a joke! This was a magic array skill that could disorient players. It was the power of the laws. If the system could break through it with brute force, where would it put its reputation? Mingdu put his hands on his hips and shouted at Yellow Crane Tower, "Ah Huang, don't waste your energy. You can't get in. Just surrender. You are Ah Huang. Your whole family is Ah Huang." Huang Helu stopped in his tracks when he heard that. He glared at Mingdu and scolded him. Alright. Huang He, that's enough, right? Mingdu was speechless. My name is Huang Helu. Unexpectedly, Huang Helu was a serious person. Wuji continued, "Got it, Huang He. Your men have been tricked into the trap by you. If you know what's good for you, drop your equipment. Don't force us to make a move. Bullsh *T. Kill me if you have the guts." Hearing Wuji's words, Huang Helu instantly reacted. This pink mist was not a special reference. It was simply a trap set by a group of people. The reason why they captured everyone else and left him alone was so that he could trap Lucifer and the others. What a good move to kill someone with a borrowed knife. He did not expect that he would be the one who tricked his teammates the most. The more Huang Helu thought about it, the angrier he became. In the end, he roared and lowered his head to ram into Wang Yu, who was closest to him. Seeing this, everyone wiped their sweat and observed a moment of silence for Huang Helu. Of all people, why did he have to bump into this god of plague? Seeing Huang Helu ram into him, Wang Yu smiled slightly. As if he had expected it, he took a light step forward. When Huang Helu arrived, Wang Yu calmly dodged Huang Helu's attack and turned behind Huang Helu. Huang Helu was shocked. He waved his shield and used shield bash to smash behind him. Before Huang Helu's shield hit him, Wang Yu punched the back of Huang Helu's head, stunning him and interrupting Huang Helu's shield bash. Then, Wang Yu grabbed Huang Helu's right hand that was holding the shield with both hands and lifted his foot to stomp on the back of Huang Helu's shoulder. Huang Helu's hand slipped unconsciously. The shield was forcibly taken away by Wang Yu and its attributes were displayed. Netherworld Magic Shield, Dark Gold, Upgradable, Attack, 50-50 Physical Defense, 200-200 Magic Resistance, 200-200 plus 40 Strength plus 40 Physique. Netherworld Power, Passive Skill. Magic Resistance increased by 50%. Bone-Chilling Chill, Passive Skill. Targets hit by the shield will slow down by 30%. Duration, 5 seconds. Ice Path, Passive Skill. After attacking the target, movement speed increased by 30%. Duration, 5 seconds. Magic Shackle, Passive Skill. Absorbs magic damage and converts the absorbed damage into extra damage for the next attack. Required Class, Warrior, Knight. Required Level, 40. Item Introduction. The personal item of the Netherworld Hierarch Karita. After nearly 10,000 years of magic immersion, it has the power of a divine artifact. F***CK. I didn't expect Huang Helu's shield to be such a good item. Seeing the attributes of the Netherworld Magic Shield, everyone's eyes lit up. To be honest, they had seen a lot of dark gold equipment, so they were not as surprised as ordinary players. In particular, the attributes of this broken shield were really ordinary, and it was a 4 passive weapon. But the last attribute, Magic Shackle, could make this shield no weaker than a divine artifact. It had to be known that there was no armor with absolute immunity to a certain kind of damage on the market today. This shield not only had absolute magic immunity, but it could also convert the absorbed damage into its own extra damage. This was too abnormal. Shield warriors were weaker than ordinary professions in terms of damage output. This skill, Magic Shackle, directly allowed shield warriors to have damage output comparable to that of mages. How terrifying was this? Fortunately, they managed to get this shield into their own hands in time. Otherwise, they would have suffered greatly. Everyone from Quanzhen secretly wiped their sweat. Give it back to me. After the stun wore off, Huang Helu saw that his shield had been stolen. His eyes turned red at once, and he roared at Wang Yu with a sobbing tone. Wang Yu was an honest man. Seeing Huang Helu like this, he almost gave in and threw the shield back. Fortunately, Wu Ji shouted in time, and Wang Yu casually threw the shield to Bao San. Bao San silently stuffed the shield into his bag. Give it to me. Seeing that Bao San's movements were so swift, Huang Helu broke down. He punched Wang Yu in the face with his bare hands. Wasn't it easy to die? Why did he have to make things difficult for himself? Seeing Huang Helu's appearance, Wang Yu felt guilty, but in the face of someone who dared to play with him, Wang Yu would certainly not show mercy. Wang Yu grabbed Huang Helu's wrist with one hand and slapped Huang Helu's face with the other. At the same time, he stretched out his foot and threw Huang Helu to the ground. Chapter 835. Because Beetle Nut and White Sand were assassins, they had been acting alone and did not follow a team. Therefore, they were lucky enough to not be caught by Chuanzhen. At this time, the two of them had already explored the edge of the map. When they saw Lucifer's message, the two of them ran desperately towards Chuanzhen's ambush spot. By the time they arrived at their destination, Huang Helu had already been stripped down to his pants by the people from the Quanzhen sect. Mingjian Daoxue was currently searching through Huang Helu's pocket. Poor Huang Helu. The potions and items in his pockets were all taken out by Mingjian Daoxue bit by bit. As Mingjian Daoxue searched, he muttered to Wang Yu in surprise, Yo, if you didn't mention it, I would have forgotten about this. I didn't expect these guys to have so many good things in their bags. Those guys were a bit wasteful. Wang Yu, who was pressing down on Huang Helu, nodded and said, Yup, continue searching. See if there's that 5 thunder fruit and gold coins. Mingjian Daoxue. As the saying goes, pay attention to the first line of defense. In Rebirth, the gold coins of players could not be stolen or dropped. Wang Yu did not even want to leave behind something that could not be stolen. It seemed like the Chuanjian sect's most gangster was this person. Seeing Huang Helu in such a miserable state, the 2 assassins had goosebumps. Although the 2 of them didn't know how the people of the Chuanjian sect stripped off Huang Helu's clothes, the visual impact of Huang Helu's white fat on the 2 of them was not small. F***ck, luckily they didn't catch us. Beetle Nut wiped his cold sweat and whispered to White Sand. His heart was filled with joy. The audience outside the battlefield had God's perspective. Even if the assassins were invisible, the audience outside the battlefield could still see them. Being stripped naked in front of so many people, how would they have the face to live in the future? These bastards also knew how to be embarrassed. When they were ripping off a girl's clothes, did they think that this day would come? That's right. White Sands also looked at the equipment on his body with concern. This was a full set of dark gold equipment. If he were to be stripped clean, tsk, the consequences would be unimaginable. At the same time, Huang Helu, who was pressed to the ground, also saw Beetle Nut and White Sand. He was delighted and shouted in the channel, What are you 2 doing? Quick, help! F***ck, there are 10 of them. How are the 2 of us supposed to fight them? You have to work together. White Sand was quite dissatisfied with Huang Helu's tone. They were at an obvious disadvantage, yet he still forced the 2 of them to help. Wasn't this clearly a trap for his teammates? In fact, in this map, assassins had the greatest advantage. With innate concealment and stealth skills, even the weakest assassin would be able to display a certain amount of combat power in this map. The 2 assassins of Satan Battle Team were also expert players. If it were any other time, White Sand and Beetle Nut would naturally not be afraid of a mere 10 people in this kind of map. However, with Yellow Crane on the ground, the 2 of them did not wish to follow in Yellow Crane's footsteps. Huang Helu glanced at the surrounding situation and commanded, Do you see those 2 girls? Let's finish them off first. Huang Helu still had some tactical accomplishment. There were only 2 girls in Chuanjian Battle Team, Yang Na and Exquisite Dream. Archers had thin defense and were easy to kill. They were also countered by assassins. Moreover, generally speaking, the combat power of female players was lower than that of male players. Yang Na and Exquisite Dream were undoubtedly the best breakthrough point. Beetle Nut and White Sand glanced at the 2 girls who were holding their crossbows. They gave Huang Helu a thumbs up and quietly walked behind Yang Na and Exquisite Dream. They then pulled out their daggers and used backstab to stab the 2 girls back. However, just as the 2 were about to succeed, the 2 girls simultaneously dodged forward. Beetle Nut and White Sand both missed at the same time. At the same time, the other members of Chuanjian revealed a strange smile. Beetle Nut and White Sand saw that they had been exposed and hurriedly tried to escape into the thick fog. However, after taking a few steps, they discovered that they had been completely surrounded by the Chuanjian players. Huh? How can this be? Seeing that they were surrounded by Chuanjian players, Beetle Nut's head was filled with question marks. The 2 of them had launched a sneak attack. No matter how fast the enemy's reaction was, they shouldn't have been able to surround the 2 of them so quickly. At this moment, Wuji said with a smile, Hee, they stood here for so long before making a move. This is really out of my expectations. It's really hard on my group of brothers. That's right. I almost couldn't act anymore. Mingdu agreed. The others smiled strangely and nodded. You can see us? Beetle Nut looked at Wuji and the others and asked in fear. In the early stages of the game, stealth was extremely useful. Once they were seen through, the assassins' reactions were almost all the same. Wuji laughed. Of course I can see you. Look at what's under your feet. Hearing this, Beetle Nut and White Sand hurriedly looked down. They saw that in the grass beneath their feet, there was an eyeball swaying back and forth. It was extremely ironic. At this moment, to place one's pride and bow, Sand flew out and pinned Beetle Nut and White Sand to the ground. Seeing that the two of them were captured alive, Wuji and the others revealed a satisfied smile. Logically speaking, Beetle Nut and White Sand's strength was definitely not the highest in Satan's team. However, in this scenario, the two of them were harder to capture than the other 8 people combined. Of course, killing the two of them was not considered difficult. However, to a group of hungry wolves like Chuanjin, the two of them were 2 sets of mobile dark gold equipment. How could they bear to casually kill them? Wuji had long since guessed that once Yellow Crane Tower was captured, these 2 assassins would come to support them. Therefore, he had planted the eyeball grass in the ground. The moment the 2 assassins stepped into the ambush, all their movements were exposed to the eyeball grass's vision. After all, assassins were an agile profession. There was nothing to complain about their escape skills. The reason why everyone had held back and did not make a move was to let Yang Na and Exquisite Dream lead them into Chuanjin's encirclement and capture them alive. Seeing this, the audience gradually understood Chuanjin's intentions. While everyone marveled at the depth of Wuji's tricks, the word sinister once again became the symbol of Chuanjin's team. On the other side, Yellow Crane Tower, who discovered that he had become bait for the second time, had no face left to continue living. He cursed at Wang Yu and Ming Jian Daoshui. After the 2 bad guys stripped Yellow Crane Tower naked and touched him, Wang Yu stood up and stepped on Yellow Crane Tower's head, sending him out of the arena. He came naked and left naked. His old friend had already sent Yellow Crane Tower off. With a wave of his sleeve, Yellow Crane Tower did not take away a single cloud. The audience could not help but cry when they saw this scene. Yellow Crane Tower was such a troublemaker, but in the end, he died with nothing on him. Of course, the 2 thieves, Beetle Nut and White Sand, would not have a good ending. Chapter 836. Fear expanded bit by bit as time passed. If Chuanjin's team came up and destroyed Satan's team, Lucifer's team would only be able to do so because Chuanjin's team was much stronger than them. However, when they saw their teammates being defeated one by one in such a hysterical manner and dying in the end, the fear in Lucifer and the others grew stronger and stronger. They even had the thought of surrendering right then and there. Unfortunately, Lucifer could not surrender until there was only one person left. All Lucifer's team of 4 could do was wait to be dragged out by Chuanjin's team and played to death. Lucifer and his team have always taken pleasure in spreading fear, boasting that they are the representatives of the devil race and the devil race. Today they encountered the Quanjin sect. At this time, Lucifer truly experienced what true fear is. Regardless of whether it was the humiliation of the person or the body, compared to the mental and spiritual devastation of the Chuanjin sect, it was simply too inferior. Just like that, Chuanjin tore apart Lucifer's psychological defenses bit by bit, finally exposing him to their greedy gazes. At this moment, Lucifer was like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. He had already begun to tremble. What was evil? Only those who could truly suppress evil were truly evil. Clearly, Chuanjin was such a group of truly evil people. As for Lucifer and his team, they could only be considered bad guys at best. The people following Lucifer were almost all professions with thick skin and flesh. Compared to Huang Helu's team, they were much harder to capture. However, now that Chuanjin had 4 versus 10 and had absolute strength suppression, capturing them one by one was no longer enough. Wuji gently waved his hand and the pink mist dissipated, exposing Lucifer's team of 4 to Chuanjin's team. Sometimes, fear came from the heart. Lucifer, who was originally in fear, calmed down when he saw his opponents reveal their true colors. Seeing that the members of Chuanjin had revealed their true forms, Lucifer continuously tossed a few enhancement amulets onto the ground to buff his subordinates. Then, he slapped a golden amulet onto his scepter, and the scepter transformed into a huge shield. After doing all this, Lucifer immediately pointed at the weakest spot in Chuanjin and gave his 3 subordinates an order. Panda, Taishan, a pen, let's charge out. After receiving the order, the 3 of them activated their skills and charged out of the encirclement without hesitation. One pen was a grandmaster of combat, and his bursting punch was the fastest. Without even looking, he charged straight at Wuji, appearing in front of Wuji in the next moment. Seeing this, Wuji lightly took a step back, out of one pen's skill range. One pen landed on the ground and kicked at Wuji's head. At this moment, Bao San, who was beside Wuji, reached out and used grab to grab one pen's leg, while his other hand slashed at one pen's head with his sword. One pen's HP bar dropped rapidly. A pen's HP bar dropped rapidly, and just as Bao San was about to end the pen, Wuji cast an invincible skill, saving the pen's life. Wuji then rushed to Bao San, catch it alive. Bao San was slightly stunned. He put down the sword in his hand and stepped on one pen. Immediately after, another pen was nailed to the ground by Exquisite Dream's arrow. Following behind one pen was Lucifer. Lucifer was a paladin with the highest judgment. With a shield in his hand, ordinary people really couldn't do anything to him. However, this kid was blind and actually charged at Wang Yu. Wang Yu, as a fighter, liked to wear cloth armor. In Lucifer's eyes, it was probably easier for him to break through. This was a classic case of not learning from experience. With the experience of dealing with Yellow Crane Tower just now, Wang Yu's proficiency in dealing with the shield was already quite high. When she saw Lucifer charging at her, she dodged to the side and grabbed Lucifer's elbow with a backhand. Finally, she stomped on Lucifer's shoulder with a thunder stomp. Lucifer's shield was forcefully taken down by Wang Yu, just like Yellow Crane's shield. However, Lucifer's shield was transformed by a talisman. After Wang Yu snatched it, without the support of the talisman, it immediately turned into a scepter. Word of the Holy Church, scepter. Dark gold, attack. 160-220 mana. 180-240 plus 45 vitality plus 45 strength. Dark gold equipment was a high-grade item. The list of attributes was extremely dazzling. This is not bad. I'll give it to my wife, as expected of a good man. Even at a time like this, Wang Yu didn't forget that his wife was a paladin. Wang Yu muttered. He put the scepter in his bag and gave the hundreds of thousands of spectators a wave of dog food. Just now, Wang Yu's movements were too fast. Lucifer didn't notice that his weapon had been snatched. Just as he was about to swing his shield and counterattack, Wang Yu suddenly felt his hand become lighter. Only then did he realize that his weapon had disappeared. Lucifer had never seen such a strange scene before. His face turned green on the spot. He glared at Wang Yu and asked, "Have you seen my weapon?" Wang Yu didn't even bother with him. She reached back and pressed down on Lucifer's neck. She stepped on Lucifer's calf, and Lucifer fell to the ground with a cry. Exquisite Dream followed up with another attack. Lucifer was also pinned down. The two warriors, Panda and Tarzan, had it worse. Warrior's charge was slower than Paladin's charge, so they were the last. The two of them hadn't even used charge halfway when Spring Source Darkness Barrier rose from the ground. The two poor kids were controlled cleanly. Exquisite Dream aimed at the two and shot 2 arrows. The Satan battle team's last line of defense was pinned to the ground. The Chuanjin sect's one-stop service of controlling, beating, stealing, and robbing was indeed very thorough. After the 4 of them were completely controlled, Wang Yu went forward and forcefully disarmed the other 3. Ming Jian Daoshi followed closely behind and started to strip the 4 of their clothes. Seeing that Ming Shui was actually able to strip their equipment, Lucifer and the others were dumbfounded. The fear on their faces was self-evident. All of them wanted nothing more than to run away from the arena. However, how could Chuanzhen's group, who were incomparably proficient in killing and robbing, not think of this? With exquisite dream, a super control class, Lucifer and the others were now completely controlled. They couldn't even do something as simple as leave the team and kill each other. Anything else was just empty talk. Seeing the equipment of the four of them being stripped, Lucifer was on the verge of tears. Lucifer still had some intelligence. From his own experience, he was able to quickly link it to the others. The four of them were being pressed down and stripped. How could the others be in a better state? No wonder they died in such a sullen manner. Thinking of this, Lucifer became even more afraid. Chapter 837. In Lucifer's fear, the four of them were stripped to their pants by famous sword Daoxue. By then, Lucifer and the others' crowd control effects had already been removed. However, removing the crowd control effects was useless now. Even if Lucifer's class had the highest judgment, they were still nothing in Chuanzhen's hands when they were naked. "What you're doing isn't right," Lucifer said with a sobbing tone as he criticized famous sword Daoxue. When the audience heard this, they were all stunned. Being criticized by such a bastard, the people from Chuanzhen felt wronged. "Oh," famous sword Daoxue replied, and began to dig through Lucifer and the others' backpacks. "You'll get what you deserve." Lucifer struggled and roared when he saw that famous sword Daoxue was unmoved. There's something wrong with this guy's head. Even someone as honest as Wang Yu couldn't help but look at Lucifer in disdain. In the game world, there was no retribution for killing people, much less stealing. Besides, if there really was retribution, it would be the bastards from Satan's battle team who got it first. However, looking at the current situation, Satan's battle team was really getting what they deserved. Of course, the people from Chuanzhen didn't believe this. If they were really afraid of retribution, just what Chuanzhen had done in the past was enough for them to have bad luck for a few lifetimes. As the saying goes, when there are too many lice, it doesn't itch anymore. Who would care about retribution? When he saw the way the people from Chuanzhen looked at them as if they were idiots, Lucifer really panicked. He kicked the ground and began to roll around on the ground. As he rolled, he shouted, "Give me back my equipment, you bunch of bandits, give me back my equipment." Looking at Lucifer rolling around on the ground, the hundreds of thousands of players in the arena all broke out in a cold sweat. Lucifer was a famous villain in the 7th server. Now that he was being bullied to the point where he was rolling around on the ground, it was an eye-opener for everyone. They felt that this trip was worth it. To be able to see such a famous person in such an ugly state, the entrance fee of a few gold coins was definitely worth it. So pitiful. When he saw Lucifer in this state, Wang Yu frowned and felt pity for him. "Why don't we stop taking out the items from our bags?" Famous sword Daoxue asked Wang Yu, feeling puzzled. Wang Yu shook her head and took out a piece of tattered cloth from her bag. She casually squeezed it a few times and forcefully stuffed it into Lucifer's mouth. In the end, she even hammered it a few times. Poor Lucifer. Fortunately, this was a game world and the players were full of vitality. If this was the real world, he would have suffocated to death. Although Wang Yu's method was rough, the effect was still very obvious. After Lucifer's mouth was gagged, the world immediately became quiet. After that, Wang Yu nodded and said to Mingjian Daoxue, "All right, let's continue." F***ck. Wang Yu's outrageous and crude methods made the Chuanzhen's group of ruthless people feel their scalps tingle. Kung Fu was a killing technique. No matter how honest Wang Yu was, he was still a professional. Even a skinny camel was bigger than a horse. The methods used by a professional like Wang Yu were naturally not just a little bit more experienced than the business crooks of Chuanzhen. Seeing Lucifer in such a miserable state, Lucifer's 3 lackeys shrunk their necks and gave up on the idea of resisting. Under the suppression of Wang Yu and the others and the looting of Mingjian Daoxue, Lucifer and the other 3 were finally robbed clean. The four of them were only left with a pair of underwear that the system had forced them to wear. Should we hang them on a tree as an example? Wang Yu stretched out his neck and suggested. F***ck, old cow, what enmity do you have with them? Hearing Wang Yu say this, the other people of Chuanjin couldn't take it anymore. Wang Yu had always been the representative of kindness in Chuanjin. Facing people like Li Xiaobing, Wang Yu could let them go. At this time, Lucifer had been stripped naked, and Wang Yu still wanted to hang him on a tree as an example. If it wasn't for the fact that everyone had been in contact with Wang Yu for a long time, they would have suspected that the person standing in front of them was that kid. Evildoers run wild. Wang Yu said, "Didn't my wife say it? Torture him to death." F***ck. Everyone laughed. This man was a good Huaxia husband. He listened to his wife's words. Luckily, Mu Zixian wasn't a bad person. Otherwise, who knew what Wang Yu would be like now? However, everyone thought that the reason why Wang Yu wanted to torture Lucifer to death was because Mu Zixian had said that Lucifer was very handsome. Forget it. Wuji waved his hand, pointed at the naked Lucifer, and said, "They are already miserable enough. Give them a quick death." Hearing Wuji's words, Lucifer and the other three were so touched that their eyes brimmed with tears. The hatred they had for Wuji just now instantly dissipated. In any case, the human world has given us so much good equipment, isn't it? Just treat it as spending money to avoid disaster, Wuji said again. F***ck. The word equipment from Wuji's mouth made Lucifer and the other three's hearts turn cold. Their resentment rose again. Alright. Wang Yu was also a person who listened to advice. Seeing that Wuji had already said this, Wang Yu didn't have to go too far. He casually gave each of them a punch and let them be gloriously sent to heaven. In the third match, the motley crew won a complete victory. The final score was 50-0. The motley crew didn't let Satan win a single point. The spectators in the arena were moved once again. It wasn't just because of the heaven-defying result of 50-0. More importantly, it was because of the way that Chuanjin guys snatched equipment. The value of equipment in the game was definitely higher than one's life. Seeing these people who could strip people naked at any time, who would dare to casually become their enemy. In any case, none of the players present dared to do so. Even the deep-sea battle team, who were in the last match, was shocked when they saw the last match between Wang Yu and the Satan battle team. In the end, they didn't hesitate at all and decisively forfeited. It couldn't be helped. The more skilled a player was, the more powerful their equipment was. Because of their awareness and skills, their dependence on equipment was also stronger than that of ordinary players. If this group of robbers from Chuanjin stole their equipment, even if it wasn't difficult to find replacement equipment, it would take a long time to adapt. Who would want to suffer such a fate? Just like that, Chuanjin won without a fight and easily became the overall champion of the 7 zones in this qualifier. The competition was over, and the champion had been decided. The spectators left their seats one after another. Next up was the reward segment. The rewards for this qualifier were quite generous. As long as one won a match, they would be given some rewards. The further they went, the more generous the rewards would be. The reward for the overall champion was self-evident. Wang Yu and the others seemed to see a large number of gold coins waving at them. However, just as everyone was waiting to receive their rewards, the system suddenly made a global announcement. Rebirth, calendar year XXXX, Zone 7 Ares City Satan Battle Team harassed a female player in a competition. Since this is the first offense, the third place reward in the competition will be revoked. A global warning will be issued. If there are any other violations, once it is verified, the account will be deleted. Haha, F***ck, serves them right. Seeing the warning for Lucifer on the public screen, the players who had witnessed these scums' despicable behavior felt extremely satisfied. The people from Chuanjin couldn't help but point at Lucifer and the others and mock them. Chapter 838. Rebirth, Year XXXX. Server 7 Yu Huicheng's ragtag team harassed a male player in a competition. This is the first offense. Apart from losing the right to participate in the Pro League, all rewards for the champion will be revoked, and a world warning will be issued. If there are any other violations, their accounts will be deleted. The two announcements alternated on the public screen 3 times. Wang Yu and the others were stunned for a good 10 seconds before they started cursing. F***CK. What the F***CK? What the F***CK is going on? Why are the rewards gone? Mingdu to place one's pride hugged each other and cried bitterly. These two had worked so hard for this little bit of reward. In the end, after risking their lives for a long time, the system suddenly announced that the rewards had been cancelled. This was like the police who had just opened the door to crack down on prostitution. There was no need to mention their mood. What F***king harassing a male player? Who decided that? Compared to the rewards, Wang Yu, Bao San, and the others were more concerned about their reputation. After all, they were all famous experts, especially Wang Yu, who was in the limelight more than the others. Harassing a male player was not a bad thing. Much less a team harassing a female player would at most be seen as a pervert, but harassing a male player was a pervert. Actually, Wang Yu, Bao San, and the others were still fine, but Yang Na and Exquisite Dream were in a more awkward situation. No matter how tough these two girls were, they were still girls. How were they going to survive after their harassment of a male player was broadcasted to the world? F***CK. I can't keep my integrity, I can't keep my integrity. Exquisite Dream shook her head and sighed. Yang Na even had the thought of quitting the team to save her intelligence. Players from all corners of the world were also discussing, F***CK, this ragtag team is really something. They're so lively that they don't even let men off? Not only that, I heard that they don't even let animals off, really? There are even F***king small animals? Of course. I have a friend who saw it with his own eyes. The rumor-mongering player said confidently. For a time, the reputation of the motley crew in the game was completely established. In fact, Chuanjin had been broadcasted to the world before, but those stories were soon buried in the long river of history. However, the motley crew was different. In the game, there were stories of people killing bosses every day, but harassing men was something that was rarely seen in 100 years. Compared to them, the latter was definitely more worth talking about. If there were no accidents, even if Rebirth shut down, the stain of the motley crew would probably be carried over to the next game. In the online gaming circle, there were many people who didn't hesitate to show off their lowly limits in order to become famous, but in the end, they could only become a one-time internet celebrity. The motley crew that didn't want to become famous had been forcibly made famous by the system. This could be considered as an unintentional willow growing into a shade. From this, it could be seen that using strength in the correct direction was the way of the king. Because of this, after the qualifiers, there was a wave of harassment of men in the online live streaming world. The nature of the harassment was extremely vile. However, those people were not as lucky as Chuanjin and Satan. Those internet celebrities who followed the trend had their accounts forcefully deleted by the system. Some of them even had their IDs banned for life. They had also become a weirdo in the history of gaming. Of course, this was a story for the future. They didn't care whether they said it or not. At this moment, everyone in Chuanjin was confused. They couldn't understand why they were warned by the system. Wang Yu asked Wuji in puzzlement, the harassment incident clearly happened before this. Why is the system warning them now? They should have been reported by someone, Wuji said after thinking for a while. Report. After hearing Wuji's explanation, everyone was instantly speechless. When Lucifer stirred up trouble, the hundreds of thousands of players present were filled with righteous indignation. It was reasonable for them to be reported. However, there was one thing that made everyone very puzzled. Logically speaking, Lucifer's actions had already crossed the bottom line of human nature. Although the system was a computer, it also had its own rules of conduct. When Lucifer was reported, he should have been warned. Why did it have to wait until now? Just when everyone was confused, Wuji looked at Lucifer and the others who were gritting their teeth and said, "If I'm not wrong, the person who reported them should be Satan Crew." F***ck, are they crazy? Mingdu couldn't help but shout. In order to take revenge on others, they even reported themselves. This behavior of harming others without benefiting themselves was really confusing. Wuji shook his head and said, "They're not crazy. They probably just wanted to report us for stealing equipment. They didn't expect that they would be found out." After hearing Wuji's words, everyone was silent. Then, they looked at Lucifer. As expected, there was a hint of sadness in the angry expressions of this group of people. Mingdu glared at Lucifer fiercely and scolded angrily, "F***ck, it's because of this group of idiots that I lost my championship prize." Wang Yu laughed and said, "That's enough. Didn't we also get a bunch of top-tier equipment because of them? We should be content. You should know that even the championship prize is probably not as good as these equipment prizes." Wang Yu was right. The system's rewards were still in line with the rules. Currently, the average level of the players was only level 40. Even if it was the championship prize, it would be good if each person was given a piece of level 40 dark gold equipment. However, Chuanjin and the others had looted a total of 10 sets of equipment from Satan Crew. What kind of concept was this? A mere championship prize was not even worth mentioning. However, what kind of people were Chuanjin people? This group of people's famous saying was, "How can we not take advantage of others?" From this, it could be seen that this group of people were the kind of people who would suffer losses if they couldn't take advantage of others. Moreover, they could only watch as the system took away the rewards that belonged to them. Naturally, the people of Chuanjin could not say anything about the system. After all, the system was a god. It could turn you into ashes with a flick of its finger. However, this did not stop the people of Chuanjin from directing their anger towards Lucifer and the others. "Just you wait. Just you wait." Mingdu turned around and pointed at Lucifer and the others, threatening them. However, to Mingdu's surprise, Lucifer actually said the same thing to Chuanjin. After saying this, Lucifer and his subordinates hurriedly left the scene. At this time, that Sunshine, the leader of Harmony Battle Team, who had just received his reward, walked over with his subordinate. That Sunshine walked up to Wang Yu and said with a smile, "Little handsome, I didn't expect you guys to be so fierce. Losing to you guys isn't embarrassing at all." This girl sure knew how to find face for herself. She had been beaten so badly, yet she still had the face to say that it wasn't embarrassing. One does not hit a smiling person. Although Wang Yu cursed in his heart, Wang Yu still had the humility of a martial artist. Furthermore, since this lady was so polite, Wang Yu naturally did not want to make fun of her. Well said, well said. You guys are also quite powerful." Wang Yu cupped his fists at that Sunshine. On the side, withered vine old tree smiled and said, "Everyone knows whether we are powerful or not, but you guys have to be careful. That Lucifer is not easy to deal with." Chapter 839. Hee. The old tree only laughed at Mingdu's words and ignored Mingdu. It then turned and said to Wang Yu, "Don't look at Lucifer like that. Do you know who his older brother is?" "I don't know." Wang Yu shook his head. Honestly speaking, the people of Chuanjin liked to play by themselves. If it was a veteran expert, Wuji and the others might know some of them. But if it was a rising star, who would know who? Wang Yu was a typical example of a person who did not pay attention to the outside world's affairs. The famous people that Wang Yu knew were either friends or had been beaten up by Wang Yu before. Wang Yu could still remember his friends, and Wang Yu would not deliberately remember those who had been beaten up before. As for the others, in Wang Yu's eyes, they were all passers-by. They were not much stronger than higher-level NPCs. Seeing how ignorant and ill-informed Wang Yu was, the old tree was stunned for a moment. Then, it said, "Martial moves the universe." Hearing the old tree say that, Wang Yu frowned and let out a profound sigh. "How is it? Now you know, right?" The old tree thought that Wang Yu was afraid and asked with a smile. However, Wang Yu mumbled, "It's a good name. Why didn't I think of it at that time? Martial moves the universe. What an arrogant and pretentious name. Compared to Iron Ox, which sounded like a supporting character's name, it was many times more awesome." Seeing that the bastard's older brother had such an awesome name, Wang Yu's face was filled with envy. The old tree broke into a cold sweat. "You don't know him?" "No." Wang Yu shook his head and asked Wuji and the others, "What about you guys?" Wuji and the others shook their heads. Only Mingjian Daoxue nodded and said, "I've heard of it before, but I'm not familiar with it." Ku Ting Old Tree was completely speechless. He didn't expect this group of people to be so powerful, yet they were so narrow-minded. They hadn't even heard of a famous person like Wu Dong Qian Kuan. Was this how short-sighted they were? Or was he so confident that he could look down on the heroes of the world? Withered Vine Old Tree suddenly felt that he couldn't understand these people in front of him. "Is it very powerful?" Wang Yu asked symbolically. Withered Vine Old Tree said, "Not only are they strong, they are really strong. Do you know only Martial Supreme? That is Martial Shaking Heaven and Earth's guild. They are one of the strongest guilds in the 7th server, and their ranking this season is even higher than Yu Huiqing's Blood Alliance." So powerful? Wuji and the others were a little skeptical when they saw Dry Vine Old Tree boasting about Martial Moves Universe so much. Blood Alliance was an old guild with deep foundations. Although their development in Rebirth wasn't too optimistic and some of their members were poached, the framework was there. How could they be surpassed by a new guild? Of course, this is War God City. How can it be compared to a suburban city like yours? However, the strongest isn't only Martial Supreme but Martial Moves Universe's personal strength. Withered Vine Old Tree said. Personal strength? How strong? Wang Yu always had an inexplicable fondness for expert players. Withered Vine Old Tree sized up Wang Yu and said, "Your strength isn't bad. If I'm not wrong, you've either been a soldier or trained a few moves." "And I casually learned a few moves in the countryside," Wang Yu said. "Then that's easy," Withered Vine Old Tree said mysteriously. "Other people might not understand how strong Martial Moves Universe is, but as someone in the industry, you should be able to imagine it." "What do you mean?" Wang Yu was even more curious. Withered Vine Old Tree looked left and right, afraid that people would think he was crazy. He lowered his voice and said, "Martial Moves Universe knows Kung Fu." Kung Fu? When the Chuanjian people heard this, they all turned to look at Wang Yu and Yang Na and then laughed. Haha, Kung Fu. Wang Yu and Yang Na had mingled with the people of Chuanjian for a long time, so they had more or less brought up topics such as Wang Yu's background. Thus, the people of Chuanjian sect were naturally familiar with Kung Fu. Yang Na would often say that Wang Yu's level was the #1 expert in the Kung Fu circle. Coupled with Wang Yu's usual performance, everyone believed this without a doubt. When they heard Withered Vine Old Tree say that Martial Moves Universe knew Kung Fu, they couldn't help but think of the phrase displaying one's slight skill in front of an expert. "Why? You don't believe it?" Withered Vine Old Tree was very dissatisfied with the tone of the Chuanjian people. "If you say something else, we may not believe it. As for Kung Fu," to place one's pride pointed to Wang Yu and said, "I have not seen anyone who knows more than my Uncle Nyo." Humph. Withered Vine Old Tree sneered. "Ignorant and arrogant, ignorant and narrow-minded. F***ck. How can you say that?" Seeing that the defeated general dared to laugh at him, to place one's pride was immediately unhappy. He raised his fist and wanted to kick Withered Vine Old Tree away. Wang Yu waved his hand and pressed to place one's pride back. He smiled and asked Withered Vine Old Tree, "Is that person's kung fu very good?" "Of course. Otherwise, do you think that no one can deal with Lucifer, who is so lawless? It's all because of his brother." When Withered Vine Old Tree mentioned Lucifer, it had a look of contempt. "How good is he?" Wuji was also somewhat unconvinced and asked Withered Vine Old Tree. "One person can fight a team," Withered Vine Old Tree said. "How many people can a team?" Wang Yu asked Wuji, puzzled. Wuji said, "According to our country's 3/3 military system, there should be no less than 2,000 people." 2,000 people, my Uncle Nyo can do that too. To place one's pride forcefully boasted again. Previously, Wang Yu had soloed 2,000 players. However, Wang Yu had only relied on an invulnerability skill to escape unscathed. Taking on a team was pure nonsense. To place one's pride boasted like that, Wang Yu's face turned red. He pulled to place one's pride and said, "Don't talk nonsense." "Humph humph." Withered Vine Old Tree said again, "I'm talking about the people in real life, the People's Liberation Army." "In real life? What People's Liberation Army?" Hearing Withered Vine Old Tree's words, Wang Yu and Yang Na showed a look of horror at the same time. "What's wrong, old cow? Didn't you always say that this game limits your strength? You can fight 1,000 people in real life, right?" everyone asked. "Stop messing around." Wang Yu waved his hand and said, "You really think of me as Superman? In real life, there is a physical limit. I can fight 50 ordinary people empty-handed, and I'll be exhausted to death, let alone the People's Liberation Army. Even if I'm young and strong now, I estimate that less than 20 people can push me down." Although Wang Yu didn't know much about the world, martial arts and the army were basically inseparable. He didn't dare to underestimate the strength of a soldier. Not to mention that a soldier had several times the physical strength of an ordinary person. Once a soldier formed a team, the strength was not as simple as 1+1. One person could fight a team of soldiers. In the eyes of Wang Yu, this was the level of a god, let alone ordinary people. No wonder Withered Vine Old Tree had such a high evaluation of the strength of Wu Dongqian. Holy sh*t, is this for real? You can't even beat 20 people with your strength? Chapter 840. It wasn't that the people of Chuanjin were disappointed in Wang Yu, but that Wang Yu had always been synonymous with invincibility in their hearts. However, the sudden collapse of their idol made it difficult for them to accept it. It couldn't be helped. One of them couldn't even guarantee that he could beat 20 people, while the other was a ruthless person who could take on 2,000 people alone. There was a 100-fold difference between them. You're bragging, right? 1 against 2,000. What kind of stamina is that? Yang Na couldn't help but curl her lips. Truly powerful kung fu came from the military. The relationship between martial arts practitioners and soldiers was naturally somewhat ambiguous. Yang Na also understood soldiers. One had to know that soldiers were different from ordinary people. Once soldiers formed a team, their strength wasn't as simple as 1+1. The more people there were, the stronger the cohesiveness. In the face of absolute suppression in numbers, even a boxing grandmaster might be able to survive a few more seconds if he hugged his head and squatted in a corner, not to mention his stamina. Withered Vine Old Tree smiled contemptuously. What do you know? He practices Taiji. He borrows force to fight, not his own. Do you understand? Taiji? Wang Yu scratched his head and turned to ask Yang Na, your grandfather? In the Kung Fu circle, only the Yang family and Chen family were good at Taiji. Of course, the so-called borrowing force to fight, not using one's own strength, was nonsense. To be able to borrow force and use more strength than an ordinary attack, although Wang Yu's Taiji cultivation wasn't as good as a real Taiji grandmaster, his strength was still there. He naturally knew more than the average person. However, as for whether there was a deeper level to Taiji, Wang Yu couldn't guarantee it. Therefore, he had to ask a professional like Yang Na. Yang Na said with a dark expression, "My grandfather isn't stronger than you. My family has hundreds of years of heritage, and we've never produced such a person." Could it be old Chen's? Wang Yu mumbled again. Yang Na curled her lips. If it's old Chen's, do you think it'll be safe with all the crap your family has done? Wang Yu blushed when he heard that. Yang Na's words weren't false. The Wang family had always been rather domineering, especially old Wang's generation. They were rather unreasonable. Old Wang had even tried to bluff his way out of the matter regarding Wang Yu. It was evident how he usually behaved. The other small sects were fine. The Wang clan would not go to the extent of bullying them. The four great clans had frequent dealings with each other, so the ones who suffered losses were naturally the other three clans. If the Chern family or the other aristocratic families really had such an expert, they would probably be the first to deal with the Wang family. Even the four great families, the representatives of the Kung Fu circle, didn't have such a godly person. Wang Yu couldn't help but sigh, there's always someone better, so, the strength of a single team is far from enough to defeat them. Do you want to join us? At this point, the old withered vine tree finally revealed its true face. Just now, everyone was still puzzled. The two teams met by chance, and the Harmony team suffered a loss at the hands of Wang Yu. Why would the old withered vine tree take the initiative to please them? It turned out that it was to rope in the people of Chuanzhen. Before Wang Yu could speak, Wu Ji smiled and rejected, "We appreciate your good intentions, but we of Chuanzhen have always liked to be alone. How could it be so easy to join an organization? Without a pledge of allegiance, who would believe you? Maybe half of the dark gold equipment that they had just obtained would be given away." The people of Chuanzhen were used to eating alone. They really didn't have the bad habit of sharing the spoils of war with others. Aren't you afraid that Lucifer and the people with martial prowess will find trouble with you? Seeing that Wu Ji was so uncooperative, the old withered vine tree frowned and asked. Hee. Wu Ji imitated the old withered vine tree's tone and sneered. That bunch of trash from the Satan team took away our championship reward. Even if they don't look for us, we will look for them. You don't have to worry about this matter. You must be joking. The old withered vine tree's body swayed when he heard that. What I said just now was not a lie. The old withered vine tree really couldn't understand where Chuanzhen got their courage from. They were actually not afraid of martial prowess, and they even threatened to find trouble with Lucifer and veritable dancer. Wu Ji smiled and said, "I'm not joking. I don't suspect anything, but we of Chuanzhen have always been vengeful. We don't care what kind of enemies they are." Seeing that Wu Ji was stubborn, the old withered vine tree was instantly speechless. In the Chuanzhen channel everyone said, "Wu Ji, this is a good show. Remember to give us a chance next time." Wu Ji looked down on them. "If you want to show off, think of your own lines, a bunch of trash." All right then. The old withered vine tree wasn't the kind of person who would persist. Seeing that Chuanzhen's group really had no intention of joining them, he only expressed a bit of regret. "If you guys ever think it through and want to join us, you can do so at any time." In the end, the old withered vine tree said to Wang Yu. Wang Yu smiled slightly to show his gratitude. "Thank you very much. Then I'll be taking my leave." After saying that, the old withered vine tree hurriedly led the Harmony team away. This old withered vine tree was really a practical person. After failing to rope them in, he directly drew the line between them. Seeing the Harmony team go far away, the people of Chuanzhen revealed a bit of worry, especially Baiming Yuyu, who had been bullied by the big guilds. She frowned and said, "Is it really okay to offend someone like that?" Wu Ji smiled and patted Baiming Yuyu's shoulder. He said, "Don't worry. We'll cross that bridge when we get there." "But I feel like you've discovered something." Wang Yu's observation skills were really meticulous. Wu Ji laughed wretchedly. "Do you really believe that there's someone stronger than you in the world?" I can't say that it's too extreme. Actually, I'm not the best fighter in my family, Wang Yu said humbly. Then what do you think the difference is between you and someone stronger than you? Wu Ji asked again. Wang Yu thought about it and said, experience. But that Wu Dong Qian Kuan is more than 100 times stronger than you. Do you dare believe it? Wu Ji said with a sneer. This. Wang Yu touched his nose. To be honest, although Wang Yu was modest, he was also a once-in-a-lifetime martial arts genius. It was impossible to say that he didn't have any pride. If someone said that someone's martial arts was slightly better than Wang Yu would admit it. After all, there were still some seniors in the martial arts circle who didn't like to be in the limelight. But if you said that someone was 100 times better than Wang Yu's feelings would immediately be different. Even if he was the youngest martial arts master in the world, he couldn't help but wonder if he was really like what Withered Vine Old Tree said, looking at the sky from the bottom of a well. But he was more suspicious of the authenticity of the matter. However, Withered Vine Old Tree was not a friend of Chuanjin. How could his words be believed? After being enlightened by Wu Ji, Wang Yu suddenly saw the light, and the confusion in his heart disappeared in an instant. So that kid was bluffing us? Wang Yu asked Wu Ji. Chapter 841. As the system had already notified them that the rewards had been taken, Chuanjin didn't wait for the rewards like the other teams. Instead, they left the public arena. Even though Old Tree Withered's words weren't true, only martial supremacy's influence in Ares City was definitely huge. Chuanjin's group wasn't afraid of them, but these guys had just made a bunch of things and hadn't digested them yet. They were afraid of trouble, so they left the public arena and headed straight for the teleportation point. Once they returned to Yuhuiqing, they would be in Chuanjin's territory. No matter how strong only martial supremacy was, he wouldn't dare to hunt down Yuhuiqing. After all, Blood Alliance was a reputable guild. How could they allow others to do as they pleased in their territory? After passing through a street, the group had just reached Central Street. When they were less than 50 meters away from the nearest resurrection point, Wang Yu suddenly said in the channel, "Everyone, be careful. There are enemies nearby." Is that so? Hearing Wang Yu's words, everyone took out their weapons. How many people are there? Look ahead. Wang Yu replied calmly. Everyone hurriedly raised their heads, only to see a group of people emerge from the crowd on the main street in front of them. Although these people had different equipment, they had one thing in common. They all had the word martial on their chests. If there weren't any surprises, these people were probably only martial supremacy's people. They didn't expect Lucifer to be so efficient. It hadn't been long, and he had already surrounded the teleportation point. This was the best time to see the influence of a big guild. At this moment, when the players on the street saw only martial supremacy coming out to kill people, they all chose to retreat. This was the special privilege of big guilds with influence. If the fist was small, it would be unreasonable. How could it be so easy to watch a fight between big guilds? If one side was unhappy, they could deliberately hit the other side. For those ordinary players, it would be a disaster. At this moment, there were more than 200 only martial supremacy players on the street. Normal players obviously didn't dare to continue staying here. Seeing the enemies in front of them, Chuanjin's people tensed up and gripped their weapons tightly. For Chuanjin's people, 200 people wasn't easy to deal with, but they could still try. Just as they were about to charge over, Lucifer came out from the crowd. Lucifer said with a fake smile, "What a coincidence, I didn't expect to see you guys here." As expected, he was AB*TC8. 200 people were guarding the teleportation point, and their purpose was obvious. It was obvious that this had been arranged a long time ago. This shameless Lucifer still dared to say it was a coincidence. He was really shameless, but this was also reasonable. After all, Lucifer's group had been robbed of 10 full sets of dark gold equipment by Chuanjin. not to mention potions and items. Just the equipment alone was worth a city. It was equivalent to a nuclear warhead in the real world. Lucifer wouldn't let Chuanjin take it so easily. Chuanjin's people had expected this, but they didn't expect Lucifer's group to arrive so quickly. When it came to shamelessness, the Chuanjin sect had never been afraid of anyone. Seeing that Lucifer was pretending to have met them by chance, Wu Ji smiled and replied, "That's right, it's really fate. It's getting late now, Brother Lu, you should rest early. We have to go back as well. Let's drink and chat another day, please excuse us." "Want to leave? Not so easy." At this moment, Beetle Nut came out from behind Lucifer and shouted at Wu Ji. Wu Ji tilted his head and said, "Are you going to treat us to a meal? You're too polite. Don't play dumb." Seeing that Wu Ji was playing dumb, Lucifer couldn't pretend anymore. He shouted, "I've brought so many people to wait here. You know what's going on, right?" "What's going on?" Wu Ji pretended to be confused. At the same time, he gave the order to prepare to attack in the channel. Mingjian Daoxue and Baiming Yu immediately turned invisible. At this time, Lucifer could also see that Wu Ji was a troublemaker. If he didn't say anything, he would pretend to be confused. So, Lucifer said coldly, "You can leave, but leave the equipment behind." "Equipment? What equipment?" Wu Ji was still pretending. "The dark gold equipment in your bag," Lucifer said straightforwardly. "Oh, the equipment in our bags," Wu Ji said shamelessly. "Why should I give it to you?" Lucifer said angrily, "Don't play dumb. Don't you know whose equipment it is?" Wu Ji laughed and said, "You're a funny kid. Who else could the equipment in our bags belong to?" Lucifer was stunned by Wu Ji's shameless words. Before Lucifer could reorganize his words, Beetle Nut shouted again, "F***CKU. Let's cut the crap. I'll give you two options. 1. Leave the equipment and leave. 2. Let us kill you until you drop it." In the end, Beetle Nut said, "I advise you to obediently hand over the equipment. Otherwise, if we make a move, it won't be as simple as dying once." The probability of players dropping equipment in Rebirth wasn't high. If there wasn't any PK, dying 10 times and dropping one equipment was already very unlucky. If they really allowed them to drop all their equipment, it probably wouldn't work without a few hundred times being continuously slashed a few hundred times. Even if they weren't slashed to level 10, the long process of death was also a kind of torture. This kind of low-level method was something that the Satan battle team could do easily. "Oh." Wu Ji scratched his nose. Humph. Seeing that Wu Ji didn't refute, Beetle Nut thought that Wu Ji was afraid. She couldn't help but urge, "Hurry up. As long as you hand over the equipment, we'll write off our grudges." "Is that so?" Wu Ji looked at Beetle Nut and said, "I think there's a third way." "What way?" Beetle Nut asked in a daze. Wu Ji shielded his eyes with his hand and glanced at Mingjian Daoxue and Baiming Yu, who were giving him an OK sign. He then said indifferently, "Of course we'll kill you." Boom. 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 Just as Wu Ji finished speaking, a series of loud noises came from behind Invincible's group. "It's the Penta Thunder Fruit." Hearing this familiar sound, Lucifer and the others hurriedly turned their heads. They saw the blind, silence, slow, and other control effects appearing on the heads of the long-ranged classes in the backline. Immediately afterward, Mingjian Daoxue and Baiming Yu unsheathed their daggers and slithered through the crowd like fishes. Bending their backs, they weaved through unrivaled martial sovereigns' crowd-controlled backline players, reaping one life after another. Chapter 842. Lucifer didn't think that a fight would break out when he led his people to block Chuanjin's group. Instead, it was mostly to intimidate them. He didn't think that a small team of a dozen or so would dare to clash head-on with a team of 200. Because of this, the 200 players of Invincible Doctrine did not split up into formations. Instead, they huddled closely together. Even the noobs knew to form a group before fighting monsters. Since Invincible Doctrine was so densely populated, it was naturally easy for them to fight. There were 505 Thunderfruit. Chuanjin's 5 Thunderfruits were stolen. Things that came easily were never sincere. Mingjian Daoxue and Baimingyu, who didn't know the value of the 5 Thunderfruits, threw out all the 5 Thunderfruits they had snatched. With so many 5 Thunderfruits thrown out, Invincible's rear line was basically paralyzed. The movement speed reduction wasn't too bad, as it didn't affect the player's attack. However, Blind and Mute were sure kill skills for archers and mages. This was especially true for Chaos, which was even more frightening. The confused players would immediately attack their own allies, and they would even deal damage. Mingjian Daoxue and Baimingyu sneaked around this group of crippled players. They first killed the slowed enemies, then stabbed the silenced enemies in the back. The blinded enemies heard the sound and subconsciously fired their arrows randomly, causing the situation to become even more chaotic. When Exquisite Dream and Yang Na started shooting, they didn't even need to aim. They could kill a few players with their random shots. Seeing that his team was in chaos in less than a few seconds, Lucifer was shocked by Chuanjin's fierceness. He hurriedly ordered a counterattack. Invincible's front row shield bearers raised their shields to block Yang Na and Exquisite Dream's vision. Then, the warrior assassins behind them turned around to grab Mingjian Daoxue and Baimingyu. Boom, 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 another thunderous roar rang out. Before the previous wave had subsided, another wave of explosions rang out. It was a time bomb. These two guys had actually installed a bunch of time bombs on the ground. Everyone present was a veteran of 100 battles. When they heard the sound, they immediately recognized the skill. Although the time bomb wasn't very good at concealment, with the current chaos of the only martial artist, no one was looking at their feet, and they stepped on it. The power of the time bomb could even blow Wang Yu to death, let alone the others. Only martial supremacy's formation was blasted into a blank space. Mingjian Daoxue and Baimingyu looked at each other and smiled, before activating second stealth and entering the teleportation point. After 2 waves of bombardment and killing, almost a quarter of Invincible Supremacy's players were dead or injured. Lucifer was furious when he saw that the other side had only sent out 4 people, yet so many of his subordinates had died. Trash! Trash! Hurry up and charge forward! Lucifer cursed as he urged everyone to charge forward and kill the rest of Chuanjin's team. In the end, before Invincible Supremacy could reach Chuanjin's team, Spring Soar waved his staff, and a dark barrier and a ground full of thorns sealed off the path. Under the cover fire of Mingdu and 2 archers, To place one's pride used flash chain kick to create an opening. Then, Yin Lao Air rushed in and cast an AoE taunt. Finally, Bao San used Whirlwind Slash, and Invincible Supremacy's players were once again killed or maimed. The teleportation point wasn't far from the resurrection point. Just as everyone was having a good time killing, Invincible Supremacy resurrected and joined the battle once more. Seeing that the number of enemies was increasing, Mingdu blasted open a path with a blitz shadow and then teleported into the teleportation point. The others also used their own abilities to enter the teleportation point. The teleportation point was a safe zone. Seeing that the 6 of them had entered the teleportation point, Lucifer and the others knew that there was nothing they could do. So, they quickly shifted their target to Wang Yu and Wuji and Muzixin, who were behind Wang Yu. However, at this moment, a group of murderous guards emerged from behind Wang Yu's team and pounced directly at Lucifer's group. Lucifer was shocked and courted death by giving the command to counterattack. In the game, the system guards represented the system. In front of the system, everything was like an ant. Lucifer dared to act cool in front of the system. One could imagine what would happen to him. For love and peace. The guards shouted and rushed into the crowd to start a massacre. These idiots were ruthless and did not speak much. In just a few seconds, Invincible Supremacy's 200-man team was completely slaughtered. After killing Lucifer's group, the guards changed their target and pounced on Mingdu, who had the highest PK in the teleportation point. Mingdu smirked and disappeared into the teleportation portal together with the others. The guards were slightly stunned. They walked around in a circle in a daze and then left the teleportation portal with heavy footsteps, eating like crazy. Without the endless stream of enemies blocking the way, Wang Yu walked into the teleportation point with Mu Zixian and Wu Ji under the watchful eyes of the Ares City archers in the distance. They turned into a white light and disappeared from Ares City. As the saying goes, good news doesn't go out, but bad news spreads for thousands of miles. Central Street was the most prosperous low end of a main city. Even if everyone had deliberately avoided it, no matter how powerful Lucifer was, he could not control the eyes in the distance. Kuting Old Tree and the others had just left the arena when they received the news. Hearing that Xuanzhen's group had slaughtered Lucifer's 200-man team and left, Kuting Old Tree's face was full of disbelief. 10 people slaughtered 200 people in less than a minute? Is that true? Kuting Old Tree asked the player who provided the news in horror. Of course. I saw it with my own eyes. Every player who passes by Central Street knows. The player was very displeased with Kuting Old Tree's suspicion. Hearing this, Kuting Old Tree also remembered that he had only been separated from Xuanzhen's group for about 10 minutes. Thinking of this, Kuting Old Tree hurriedly sent a message to Wu Ji. Congratulations, you've safely escaped. A few seconds later Wu Ji replied, It's nothing. Hiss, seeing that even the person in question said so, Kuting Old Tree was stunned and then sucked in a breath of cold air. Now that the level and equipment of players had increased, they were no longer low-leveled players. Players could easily be killed in an instant. This was especially true for only Supremacy, a large guild. Naturally, the equipment of his players was also extremely high-end. Yet, a dozen or so players had slaughtered 200 players in less than a minute. Just how frightening were these players? Logically speaking, only Martial Supremacy's players had truly died at the hands of Xuanzhen's people. The majority of only Martial Supremacy's players had died at the hands of the guards. Although 50 to 60 people was not a small number compared to a small group of 10, it was definitely not a large number. Only Martial Supremacy's pitiful reputation was indeed undeserved. It could not be helped. As a player of a big guild, he should be prepared to be slandered. After all, in the process of development, every large guild would inadvertently suppress the players in the same city. This was especially true for only Martial. With a rat like Lucifer, only Martial's reputation in the War God City naturally wasn't any better. Defaming him was already considered a light punishment. Chapter 843. The bystanders deliberately spread the rumor, and within the time it took to eat a meal, the incident of Martial Supremacy's 200 players being slaughtered by 10 mysterious people spread like wildfire. There were even people who uploaded the video to the forums. The person who uploaded the video was a scoundrel. In order to disgust Martial Supremacy, he purposely omitted the part where Martial Supremacy was slaughtered by the guards, causing the players on the forums to see Martial Supremacy's miserable state. Of course, it was not that no one could see the loophole in the video, but the smart ones were few and far between. Moreover, his family and Martial Supremacy were not related, and he might even have been bullied by Satan's battle squad, so most people chose to wait and see. Occasionally, there were a few righteous people who came out to refute the rumors, but under the preconceived notions of the players, they were instantly accused of being Martial Supremacy's land cleaners and drowned in the spit of the players. At this time, Martial Supremacy's true boss was leading his team in the arena. When he received the news, the truth was already beyond recognition. From 10 people killing 200, it became Quan Zhen single-handedly annihilating an entire guild, and casually raising Martial Supremacy's guild base. The narrative was so exaggerated and the words used were so dazzling that Martial Supremacy's nose went crooked in anger. Martial Supremacy anxiously sent a message to the Vice Guild leader. "Old cat, what's going on? How can our base be destroyed while we're at it? Why didn't I, the guild leader, receive any notice?" "Guild base? How can that be? You must have heard wrong." Cat Supremacy was baffled to be scolded for no reason. Then what about the rumor that someone wiped out the entire guild? Martial Universe felt slightly relieved when he heard that the guild residence was fine. He then continued to ask, "No, it's just that your brother led the 1st and 2nd platoons to kill people, but they were slaughtered by the guards who were passing by." Cat Supremacy explained while wiping his sweat. "My brother." Martial Supremacy was slightly taken aback, and immediately questioned Cat Supremacy in an extremely displeased manner. "Who gave him the authority to command the guild's people?" "This." Cat Supremacy stammered. "He asked me for him, so I gave him to him." "Who knew he would be so reckless, even daring to attack the guards?" F***ck. Martial Supremacy said angrily. "He asked you for him, and you gave him to him? What are you doing as a vice guild leader?" After being yelled at by Wudong Qianquan, he felt wronged even if he had a cat's disease. F***ck, that's new. That's your brother. How could I not give him to him? Don't just look at how Cat Sick was the vice guild leader. No matter how high his position was, he was still an outsider. In the game, the relationships between netizens were very subtle. As Martial Moves Universe's younger brother, Cat Sick didn't dare go against Lucifer's wishes. Perhaps it would be better if something really happened like now. After the matter was settled, it would be clear who was close and who was far away. Only Martial Respect was a large guild, unlike those small guilds that played around. In Only Martial Respect, the position of Vice Guild Leader had real benefit. Crazy Cat did not want to lose his position over a trivial matter. Now that Martial Moves Universe was venting his anger on Cat Sick was extremely depressed. No wonder people said that it was hard to manage a leader's relative. As Lucifer's older brother, Wudong Qianquan understood his younger brother's temper. Seeing that Cat Sick wanted to pour out his grievances, Wudong Qianquan hurriedly said, "Tell that bastard to wait for us in the meeting room. We'll be there soon." After saying this, Wudong Qianquan led his team out of the arena. In reality, Lucifer's team Satan and Only Martial Respect were two completely different teams. Even though Lucifer and the others were also players of Only Martial Respect, because of Lucifer's bad temper, he didn't get along with the majority of the members. As a result, Martial Moves Universe never gave him any important tasks, and he could only be considered a peripheral character. Because of this, Lucifer pulled a few people he had a good relationship with and formed this Team Satan, completely becoming a Only Martial Respect player in name. In the end, Lucifer didn't have the qualifications to participate in the internal meeting. Now that he heard his older brother inform him to participate in Only Martial Respect's internal meeting, Lucifer was shocked. He knew that he had caused a huge disaster this time, and his older brother was going to punish him. However, Lucifer was also a very straightforward person. Anyway, whether it was a blessing or a curse, he couldn't avoid it. In the end, the fire couldn't be hidden. After receiving the notice, he simply braced himself and went to the guild office. Just as Lucifer arrived at Only Martial Respect's office, before he could even sit down, Wudong Qianquan rushed in with a group of people. As soon as they entered the office, Wudong Qianquan pointed at Lucifer and asked, "What's wrong with you, kid? What trouble did you cause this time?" Wudong Qianquan's aura was very fierce. Even someone as pretentious as Lucifer didn't dare to speak loudly in front of Wudong Qianquan. After being questioned by Wudong Qianquan, Lucifer lowered his head and said meekly, "I brought people to chase after a battle team, and they got wiped out. I already know about that. I'm asking about the background of that battle team." Wudong Qianquan said calmly. "This," Lucifer stammered, I'm not too sure. I heard that it's Yu Huiqing's team, and they seem to be quite famous. Lucifer wasn't some veteran player. His understanding of Chuanjin's team was that they were a very strong team, and he didn't know anything about Chuanjin's background. You don't even know who your opponent is? What the hell are you guys doing? Hearing this, Wudong Qianquan was about to explode again. Seeing this, someone's sick cat hurriedly added, "We've already found out. That battle team is called Motley Crowd, and they're the main players of Yu Huiqing's Chuanjin." Chuanjin? Hearing these three words, Wudong Qianquan frowned and said in a low voice, "Is it that Chuanjin?" "Yes, it's that Chuanjin," someone's sick cat said. F*CKU. Hearing someone's sick cat say this, Wudong Qianquan was instantly enraged. He pointed at Lucifer and scolded, "How did you provoke that group of unscrupulous fellows?" Wudong Qianquan could be considered a veteran player in the circle. Naturally, he had heard a little about what happened to Chuanjin. He also knew that this group of people would rather die than be at a disadvantage, and that they would desperately take advantage of others. They were famous for being sticky candy, and the kind that had changed. Back in the day, the famous Three Evils Manor was said to have taken advantage of this group of scum, and in the end, it collapsed. As the saying goes, good shoes don't step on smelly dog shit. When Wudong Qianquan heard that his opponent was this kind of person, he felt as if he had eaten 2 caddies of flies. Seeing such a strong reaction from Wudong Qianquan, Lucifer was shocked, and hurriedly replied in a low voice, "Those guys stole our equipment." Of course, if it were 2 pieces of dark gold equipment, he might consider continuing his pursuit. 10 sets. Lucifer almost stuffed his head into his pants when he said this. 10 sets? Wudong Qianquan was shocked. 10 sets of dark gold equipment? Where did you get them? Don't tell me those 10 sets of equipment are. Speaking up to this point, Marshal Dong Qianquan's face instantly darkened. F*CK, with the current production of dark gold equipment, how many sets of equipment could there be if you flipped the entire game upside down? Where did the 10 sets of equipment he snatched from Lucifer come from? Did he even have to think about it? Lucifer grunted. F*CK your mother. Seeing that Lucifer was indeed robbed of his 10 sets of equipment, Marshal Dong Qianquan immediately broke down. He even forgot who his brother's biological mother was. He lifted his leg and kicked Lucifer. Marshal Dong Qianquan was a chi master. One kick was enough to send Lucifer, a paladin, tumbling. With a chi master's judgment, one could imagine how angry he was. Then, Marshal Dong Qianquan put his palms together. A fire dragon spiraled out and hovered above Marshal Dong Qianquan's palms. A level 45 chi master's ultimate skill, Flame Dragon Burst, could be used to attack an area of effect or a single target. Its destructive power was no weaker than a mage's lightning shadow. It was a chi master's ultimate skill. Boss, calm down. Seeing that Wudong Qianquan was about to kill Lucifer, Cat Sickness and the rest hurriedly stood up and stood in front of Wudong Qianquan, blocking him. Calm down my ass. Marshal Dong Qianquan was so agitated that he couldn't even speak properly. He dispersed the fire dragon in his hand and pointed at Lucifer angrily. If I don't kill him today, he'll definitely piss me off one day. Those 10 sets of equipment were bought by Marshal Dong Qianquan on the forums with a large sum of RMB. They were Marshal Dong Qianquan's final trump card. They were prepared to use them in the Pro League. For a large guild like Marshal Dong Qianquan, who had the support of a financial group, spending money was secondary. The most important thing was the rarity of the equipment. Dark gold equipment was already incredibly rare. Now that the Pro League was drawing near, the various teams were busy collecting equipment, making the already scarce equipment even more scarce. These 10 sets of equipment had taken Marshal Invincible a lot of effort to obtain. Now, however, they had all gone to waste just because someone had stolen them. How could Marshal Invincible not be enraged? This was because Lucifer was Marshal Dong Qianquan's younger brother. If it were anyone else, Marshal Dong Qianquan would have killed them in real life. Killing Lucifer in the game was just a way to vent his anger. Boss, listen to me. The equipment is already gone. Even if you kill second brother, there's no use. Our current target should be that Chuanjin. Someone crazy cat pulled Marshal Dong Qianquan and tried to persuade him. You're right. Marshal Dong Qianquan nodded. He then said, but in my heart, I still hate iron for not becoming steel. Someone crazy cat said, don't you know second brother's temper? If you really piss second brother off, he'll do something even more extreme. Right now, we've already become a joke. If this gets out, do you know how many people will laugh at us? Lucifer's abnormal thinking was no secret among the upper echelons of Marshal Dong Qianquan. Hearing someone crazy cat's words, Marshal Dong Qianquan was really persuaded. The reputation of a big guild was still quite important. If they really made Lucifer angry, who knew what he would do? To be able to develop the guild to this extent, Marshal Dong Qianquan must have done a lot of shameful things. If they were to be exposed, thinking up to this point, Marshal Dong Qianquan sighed and said, "AI, all right. I'll let him go this time." What should we do now? Lucifer saw that Marshal Dong Qianquan didn't want to kill him anymore. He stupidly asked this childish question. Nonsense, what else can we do? Of course, we'll steal the equipment back. Marshal Dong Qianquan rolled his eyes at Lucifer. Steal it back? They've already returned to you, Huiqing. Lucifer said awkwardly. Lucifer wasn't an idiot. He knew what the consequences of a cross-city chase would be. Marshal Dong Qianquan coldly said, so what? It's just a small group. I'll just greet the big guilds in Yu Huiqing. Chapter 845. In the online gaming circle, big guilds, especially big guilds like Only Martial Glory, had their own circles. Even if they were opposing guilds, the guild leaders would still have ways to contact each other. Just like NBA, James didn't necessarily have Duncan's phone number, right? The online gaming circle was even simpler. The so-called way to contact each other was just an ID. It was even easier to add each other as friends. Everyone was a famous person, so of course they wouldn't be called petty just because they added each other as friends. So, in Marshal Dong Universe's friend list, there were also friends with the bosses of top guilds like Yu Huiqing. Players like Blood Red War Flag and Captain Don't Shoot were all invited. Even a small character like 2012 was pulled into the chat room by Marshal Dong Universe. Who is this? Why are you pulling me? I'm busy. Although this group of important people were friends with each other, they were actually not familiar with each other. Being pulled into a chat room for no reason made the hot-tempered Blood Red War Flag very unhappy. They didn't even see who had invited them before they started shouting. That's right. Hurry up and say it, I'm dungeoning right now. Captain Don't Shoot mumbled. Seeing everyone's opinions, Marshal Dong Universe immediately popped up. It's me, Marshal Dong Universe. Oh, it's Boss Universe. What's up? Seeing that the invitation was from Marshal Dong Universe, Blood Red Alliance and Captain Don't Shoot immediately calmed down and asked patiently. Only Martial Glory was the biggest guild in the capital city. The guild's strength was only slightly stronger than the guilds in the suburbs. Even people like Blood Red Alliance had to be careful when they spoke, afraid of any conflict. Marshal Dong Universe cleared his throat. There's something I want to tell you guys. What is it? Why did you mobilize so many people and even let Boss Universe personally pass the message? Captain Don't Shoot asked curiously. That, cross-city battles were hard to say in the first place, especially when they had to talk to the big shots of Yu Hui City. It was as if they had to tell the big shots that they had beaten up their people. There was always a sense of being open and boastful. Marshall Dong Universe organized his words. Only Marshall Dong Universe has some friction with one of you Huiching's guilds. Oh? That can't be right? We're so far away from each other. How could our Yu Huiching's guild offend you guys? Hearing Wu Dong Universe's words, Blood Alliance was shocked at first, but then they said. Only Valiant was a big guild, so anyone who could provoke them was definitely no ordinary person. It was very likely that it was the subordinates of one of the people in the chat room, and it was also likely that it was Blood Alliance, so Blood Red War Flag's reaction was the strongest. Isn't there a competition recently? Wu Dong Universe explained. Oh, is that so? We were in the arena and didn't pay attention to this. When Blood Red War Flag heard that it was because of the preliminaries, they were relieved and hurriedly distanced themselves from him. We're busy too. Don't shoot also expressed his stance. We didn't even make it through the first round of the qualifiers, said 2012, a little embarrassed. Although this was quite embarrassing and 2012 didn't want to talk about it, it was insignificant compared to the friction with only Valiant. The bosses of the other guilds also had their own reasons. They expressed that they and their subordinates had been behaving themselves during this period of time, and that they hadn't gone on a vacation or anything like that. In short, they definitely weren't the ones who had come into conflict with Martial Dominator. Seeing that everyone was trying to find an alibi for themselves, Wu Dong Universe knew what everyone was trying to say. He smiled and said, I don't doubt that any of you are in conflict with us. It's just a small guild. We've already investigated their background. The reason why I called everyone here is to ask for your help. How can we help? Blood Red War Flag asked. Hee. Wu Dong Universe laughed helplessly. After all, it's your Yu Huiching's people. I'm just an outsider, so it's not good for me to make a move. Are you guys interested in helping me with this? Don't worry, I definitely won't mistreat you. Oh, if that's the case, then you can ask the others. Blood Red War Flag and Captain Don't Shoot weren't interested in Marshall Dong Universe's words. Helping an outsider to deal with a guild in their own main city because of some benefits was the act of a thief. Blood Alliance and Sword in the Heavens weren't just the top guilds in Yu Huiching, they were also Yu Huiching's image. Doing something like this was a loss of character. Moreover, they definitely didn't lack this bit of money. On the other hand, 2012 and a few other smaller guild leaders were quite interested. Boss Universe, how did that guild become enemies with you? 2012 asked curiously. Only Valiant was a guild that even Blood Alliance didn't dare to offend. A guild that wanted to use the qualifiers to show off dared to provoke only Valiant. In 2012's eyes, it was clearly asking for death. Marshall Dong Universe said, they stole our guild's equipment. D*MN. They must be tired of living. They even dared to steal only Valiant's items. Who is so daring? Why didn't you guys catch them in War God City? A guild leader called Blabbermouth said in shock. This brat really lived up to his name, shooting his mouth off and saying these words in front of Wu Dong Qiankuan. He was obviously putting Wu Dong Qiankuan on the spot. However, Wu Dong Qiankuan did not get angry. Instead, he said regretfully, those guys ran away after snatching the items. They even attracted a group of guards. Our men were trampled by the guards. So, we accidentally let them go. Oh. Hearing Marshall Dong Universe say this, not only 2012 and the others, but even Blood Red War Flag and Captain Don't Shoot couldn't help but frown. Stole the items and ran. They even attracted the guards to stop their pursuers. Why did this behavior seem so familiar? It was as if they had seen it somewhere before. Could it be, thinking about this, Yu Huiching and the others felt a chill down their spines. 2012 probed. I wonder what kind of guild this is. How could they be so shameless? It's just a small guild with less than 20 people. I think they're called something like Chuanjin. Marshall Dong Universe said calmly, as if he was talking about an ant eating a grain of rice from his house. F***ck. As soon as Wudong Universe said this, everyone cursed in unison. As expected of those guys from the Chuanjin sect. They didn't think that these guys would even dare to snatch something that only martial arts reigned supreme. But then again, in the entire gaming circle, there really wasn't anyone that they didn't dare to snatch. Chapter 846. How about it, bosses, are you interested? We can discuss the price. Martial Universe didn't hear the fear in everyone's voice and continued to ask. In Martial Universe's eyes, these players were already the apex forces of Afterglow City. Dealing with a 20-man guild would be a piece of cake. As for the price that Martial Universe had mentioned, there was no need to hold any expectations. In his eyes, a small, insignificant guild with less than 20 players wouldn't even be worth a dime. Not interested, not interested. Everyone's reply was surprisingly unanimous. Seeing that everyone was not interested, Martial Universe thought that they wanted to raise the price. He gritted his teeth and said, "I'll pay 10,000 gold. 10,000 gold. 10,000 gold to deal with a team of less than 20 players. In total, that was more than 500 gold per player. This was the price of hunting top-tier experts in the game. Clearly, Martial Universe had gone all out to deal with such a small team. Not interested. Everyone's attitude didn't change. This time, Martial Universe wasn't happy and said unhappily, "You can raise the price, but don't go overboard. If you really can't, then name a price. If I can accept it, then it's a deal." Seeing that Martial Universe wasn't going to let it go, 2012 said sincerely, "Boss Universe, we don't mean that. Not all problems can be solved with money." What kind of person was Chuanjin? Yu Huiqing knew better. A mere 10,000 gold to buy their trouble? What kind of joke was that? They might even throw in another 100,000 gold. They weren't from a big guild like Blood Alliance, nor were they rich players like Captain Don't Shoot. 100,000 gold was more than enough to take the lives of these small guilds. 2012 said it in a dignified manner, but Martial Universe didn't care. In his eyes, these people were just trying to raise the price. Before 2012 could finish, Wu Dongqian Kuan rudely interrupted. "Oh? Do you think I'm being unkind? How about I add another 10,000? Sure enough, Martial Shaking Universe was rich and overbearing. He didn't even bat an eyelid as he increased the price by 10,000 gold. "Fine, pretend I didn't say anything." 2012 saw that Martial Universe was so stubborn and sighed before leaving the chat room. When the others saw that Mr. 2012 had run away, they also retreated. It couldn't be helped. Those guys in Chuanjin were famous for eating people without spitting out their bones. If they knew that he was discussing with others to deal with them, it would be terrible. Since he couldn't afford to offend them, couldn't he just hide? Retreat. Blabbering out of the chat room, Warm Spring Blossoms exited the chat room. Leaving the chat room day, after a while, only Blood Red War Flag and Don't Shoot were left in Martial Arts Universe's chat room. This. Wudong Qian Kuan was confused. Just as he was about to say something, the team leader stopped firing and told Wudong Qian Kuan to take care before leaving the chat room. Wudong Qian Kuan was completely dumbfounded. He muttered to Blood Red War Flag, "What is the meaning of this?" Blood Red War Flag, who was also preparing to leave, wiped the sweat off his forehead when he heard Martial Dong Universe's words. What else could it be? He probably doesn't want to accept it. Why? I've already offered 20,000. Up until now, Martial Dong Qian Kuan still didn't understand why his money tactic didn't work. Blood Red War Flag didn't answer Martial Dong Qian Kuan's question. Instead, it asked, "How much equipment did Wuji steal from you? Is it worth it for you guys to go all out?" Martial Dong Qian Kuan automatically ignored the words "all out" and replied, "They stole 10 sets of dark gold equipment from us. F***ck me. Blood Red War Flag was so shocked by the appetite of the Quanzhen sect that it almost jumped up. Only this group of people could steal 10 sets of top-notch equipment from someone else. It's worth it, it's worth it. After a long time, Blood Red War Flag took a deep breath and said, "That was 10 sets of dark gold equipment." If Blood Red War Flag still felt that it wasn't worth it, then they would inevitably be suspected of being sarcastic. Brother War Flag, although I don't want to, I still have to say this. If you guys don't help me, don't blame us for causing trouble for you Huiqing. Marshal Dong Qian coincided. In the end, he was the leader of a big guild. He understood the importance of being polite before resorting to force. I think we can use another method? Blood Red War Flag asked. Marshal Dong Qian Kuan said happily, Brother War Flag, do you have any good ideas? Blood Red War Flag asked, how much did you spend on that equipment? Nearly 30 million. Marshal Dong Qian Kuan said with a pained expression. Those 10 sets of dark gold equipment were the price of 3 first-rate professional players. In total, they cost nearly 10,000 gold each. Even though Marshal Dong Qian Kuan had the support of a large guild, he couldn't help but feel pained. However, he had no choice. Marshal Dong Qian Kuan was just a high-level worker. These equipment were lost by his own brother. If something happened, Marshal Dong Qian Kuan would have to take responsibility. If there's a price, then it's easy, Blood Red War Flag said. I'm familiar with those people from Chuanzhen. They aren't the kind of people who want to be noble. As long as there's a price, it's not impossible to negotiate. Price? What do you mean, War Flag? Marshal Dong Qian Kuan didn't quite understand Blood Red War Flag's words. Blood Red War Flag could only say, anything that can be solved with money isn't a problem. Do you understand, Boss Qian Kuan? Marshal Dong Qian Kuan finally understood that Blood Red War Flag wanted him to buy it back. The equipment is mine. Marshal Dong Qian Kuan asked. Blood Red War Flag, yes. Chuanzhen took it. That's right. I'll buy it back. Yes. Blood Red War Flag nodded. Why? F***CK. Marshal Dong Qian Kuan shouted, scaring Blood Red War Flag. There was no such logic in the world as using money to buy back one's belongings. This was especially true for only Marshal Sovereign, who was also an overlord of a region. Where was his dignity to bow and scrape in front of a small group? I'm just suggesting. Blood Red War Flag hurriedly said. Humph. Marshal Dong Qian Kuan coldly snorted. Since Brother War Flag is looking down on Marshal Dong Qian Kuan, I don't think there's any need for us to talk anymore. When the time comes, Marshal Dong Qian Kuan will be at your doorstep. No, I'm not looking down on you. I'm just stating the facts. You don't know. Blood Red War Flag hurriedly explained. However, before Blood Red War Flag could finish, Blood Red War Flag received a notification that they had been kicked out of the chat room by Marshal Dong Qian Kuan. Damn it! This bastard doesn't listen to the advice of a good person. Blood Red War Flag cursed and sent a message to Wuji. Be careful for the next few days. Someone might cause trouble for you. Blood Red War Flag was a relatively kind person. From the moment they knew Marshal Dong Qian Kuan's goal, they advocated for a peaceful solution. It was obvious that they were thinking of Chuanzhen. Chapter 847. Wu Ji was not surprised to receive the news from Blood-Colored War Flag. After all, although the people from the Quanzhen sect were bad, they were not stupid. Wu Ji also knew what kind of trouble he had caused this time. Anyone would seek revenge for the smallest grievance against someone weaker than them, not to mention a large guild like martial supremacy. What would come sooner or later. However, Wu Ji didn't care too much because Chuanzhen had already returned to Yu Huiqing. Wu Ji also knew that no matter how arrogant martial supremacy was, he wouldn't brazenly cross the city to capture people. Players' sense of territory was the strongest in the game. If it really came to that, Chuanzhen could just raise their arms and call for help, and Blood Alliance and the other large guilds would have no choice but to act. There was no way martial supremacy wouldn't understand this logic. Of course, everyone understood this logic, but this time, Chuanjin had stolen 10 sets of dark gold equipment. With such a huge grudge, even if martial supremacy didn't dare to use force, he would still think of some other way. The next day, as soon as Chuanjin's people came online, Wang Yu received a system notification. Player Divine Armament wants to add you as a friend. Do you accept? Wang Yu was also a famous person. There were thousands of friend requests like this every day. Normally, Wang Yu would just ignore them, but this Divine Armament's friend request caught Wang Yu's attention. Divine Armament's request was very simple. There were only 3 words: buy equipment. Although Wang Yu didn't care about the details, he knew that Chuanjin had a lot of enemies. Seeing this strange request, Wang Yu was a bit puzzled and asked Ming Jian Daoxue, "Have you put up any information about selling equipment recently?" Ming Jian Daoxue nodded. "Yes, Wuji told me to put up the dark gold equipment on the forums. I left your name." What the Quan Zhen sect members had snatched from Lucifer were all large pieces of equipment such as helmets, leg armor, and shoes. The original equipment of the Quan Zhen sect members was not bad, especially the large pieces of equipment they were wearing. They were basically all gold and dark gold equipment. Moreover, after such a long time, the Quan Zhen sect had almost gotten used to their own equipment. Therefore, the Quan Zhen sect did not have much need for those pieces of equipment. Since they didn't need it, the most direct way was to get rid of it first and then split the money. Letting Ming Jian sell it on the forums was naturally the most effective method. The reason why he put up Wang Yu's name was mainly to intimidate the small fry. He wanted them to know that the people selling the equipment were all experts, so they shouldn't have any ill intentions and shouldn't talk nonsense. It must be known that Wang Yu's fierce reputation was still very intimidating in Afterglow City. After being filtered by Wang Yu, most of the people who dared to inquire about the price were really interested customers. I see. Hearing Ming Jian Daoxue's words, Wang Yu easily approved Armament's request. I heard that you have a lot of dark gold equipment? After Armament's request was approved, he didn't beat around the bush and went straight to the point. Wang Yu directly replied, "Yes. Can I take a look at the goods first?" Armament asked again. "Sure. You can come to 24 Unity Street. Our office is here." After asking for Wuji's opinion, Wang Yu sent his group's address to Armament. After receiving Wang Yu's message, Armament didn't reply immediately. Instead, he replied after a while, "Oh, I'm at Central Street. Just go through an alley. Can you come over?" "He wants us to go over." Seeing Armament's request, Wang Yu said to Wuji unhappily, "Why do I feel a little uncomfortable with this guy? Is he trying to pick a fight? I've never seen such a big customer before." To be fair, Wang Yu had played the game for a long time and had sold countless equipment. Because Wang Yu was a famous expert, most of the customers would rush to see Wang Yu. Even if they didn't rush to see Wang Yu, they wouldn't ask Wang Yu to look at an equipment. After all, equipment was always in high demand. Even if you didn't want it, there would be more people fighting for it. There was no need for a player to act like a bootlicker. It was Wang Yu's first time seeing a customer asking Wang Yu to personally look at an equipment like Armament. It was natural for Wang Yu to feel conflicted. Wuji, on the other hand, had seen a lot of things. He laughed and said, "How many people have you met? The players in the game with money are all like that. They think that they can be so arrogant just because they have money. In their eyes, not to mention a player selling equipment, even the system GM has to call them masters." That's right. We finally have a big customer. Old cow, don't be stubborn. Mingdu and to place one's pride were jumping up and down. At the end of the day, the equipment was stolen. It would be troublesome to keep it. It was rare to see a customer who could buy such a large amount of equipment. At this time, the customer was in Wang Yu's hands. Everyone was afraid that Wang Yu would lose his temper and tell the customer that he shouldn't be greedy. Yin Lao Er and Bao San also advised, the game isn't like those sly businessmen in real life. The players with money in the game are all second-generation kids. They have low EQ and speak like that. Old cow, don't mind them. Alright, I'll go. There was no other way. Wang Yu couldn't beat everyone. Seeing that everyone said so, Wang Yu could only sigh and agree to go. I'll go with you. At this time, Wuji volunteered and stood up. What are you going to do? Seeing that Wuji wanted to go with Wang Yu, everyone's eyes narrowed into slits. Wuji said, Old Cow's ability to sell equipment is far inferior to his fighting ability. Are you guys really going to let him sell it? Everyone was speechless when they heard this. What Wuji said was right. Wang Yu never haggled with others when selling his equipment. No matter how much others tried to lower the price, he would always lower the price. Fortunately, this kid had a high production rate. Otherwise, he would have already starved to death by selling his equipment like this. Wuji was the Quan Jin sect's most adept at swindling people. In this aspect, he was the exact opposite of Wang Yu. If Wuji followed Wang Yu, everyone would definitely not worry about the price. Similarly, because Wuji was good at swindling people, everyone would also be worried. If Wuji goes, then I'll go too. Mingdu stood up. What are you going to do? Wuji frowned. Protect the equipment, Mingdu said. You don't trust Old Cow? I don't trust you, Mingdu replied. Wuji was good at scamming people. Of course, he wasn't just good at scamming people. When he was angry, he would even scam himself, let alone his companions. Everyone had 100% trust in Wang Yu. As for Wuji, everyone was afraid that Wang Yu would be sold, and they would have to count the money for Wuji. I'll go too. You're tuning into the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.